Hangin with Hester and Hanny with Jacob Hester and Charles Hanagriff. Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger. Alongside Jacob Hester, here's Charles Hanagriff.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome into Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, 1130 The Tiger in Shreveport. With our friends on CST and our YouTube channel, 104.5 ESPN. However you are watching along with us, listening along with us, welcome in on a Monday, one day closer to sports, some sports, and that is a good thing. How was your weekend?
It was good. Hey, you got a little energy coming back there. Great weekend. I know you had your fishing trip. I know we had Island Hanny on Friday. I like the juice you came in here with today.
Island Hanny was fun. The Friday show was fun. We had a good group on Friday, just kind of trying to build the momentum and come right in here. First of all, the fishing trip was great. It was a lot about how to say this: good camaraderie, good food, good drinks, and we threw in some fish. So
might have played a hand or two of poker.
Yeah,
maybe.
A little bit. We caught more face cards than we did trout. How's that? So, but it was a good trip. Thanks to those guys for hosting us this past weekend. We're going to do it again, and your name got brought up a lot. Okay, so for the next trip.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. I might have made the list.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead and RSVP for that.
I think the idea is that they're going to trade you a trip down to Big Lake for a trip up to
Cross Lake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I can deal with that.
We'll put the details of that together later. In the meantime, it was good to be able to watch sports and watch a little bit more sports. And I'm not suggesting that this was a big weekend of SEC football or anything like that, but we're taking the little bit that we're being kind of spoon-fed here and trying to run with it a little bit. For the golf was good. Or should I say the golf was interesting? I couldn't say the golf was good. The conditions we're trying after.
Round 3 got weird.
Round 3 got weird, and round 4 it looked like a golf course that had been tracked up by 8 rounds of PGA golf, and knowing that it was going to be razzed right after and redone, not a whole lot of attention paid to the condition of the greens, but the baseball yesterday. And we watched a little bit of baseball all weekend. It was on in the background. And then I got a chance to watch White Sox and Cubs last night, and then got to watch the highlights. So watching major league games in these parks that have, become so iconic and, recognizable to us, like Wrigley last night, or watching the highlights from Dodger Stadium last night, I was surprised to find that I got used to it fairly quickly. I was looking for energy levels of the players. I can't tell you that it had the intensity of a playoff series. They were exhibition games, but it played a lot better, a lot smoother than maybe I had feared. Everything from the social distancing dugouts in the stands to the I'm calling them foot fives. I don't know what people are calling them, but
I call it the kid and play.
The kid and play
toe taps. Yeah.
So if you haven't seen this, instead they can't high five, they can't even really fist bump. So what they're doing is they're tapping feet, and it does look like the old kid and play. But anyway, whatever they're calling, I thought they were into it a little bit more. The level of play was pretty good. I mean, there were a lot of balls, maybe not for pitchers, maybe just what Yankees ran 4 balls out of the yard.
Yankees pitchers felt great, though.
I'm sure they shut the Mets out.
Yeah.
But I got back into it a lot quicker than I thought.
Yeah.
I was worried about completely sterile environment killing the entire game. And maybe if I had watched a little bit more as I thought about it, I said, you watch the Korean baseball, not a lot, but I watched some of it.
Yeah.
The level of play there is pretty good.
It is. It's different.
And they didn't have any fans for most of that. So watching it, I missed the fans a lot less than maybe I had feared. And I know we're going to be watching the NBA in what amounts to an oversized ballroom.
Right.
And I know there's a good chance we're going to watch football in empty or close to empty stadiums. For the first time back with these sports, not soccer, sorry, I felt okay about it. I felt like, okay, I can roll with this for a while.
Well, I think we're all jonesing for something. We just want to see live action, so I think we'll take what we can get at this point. So there's some of that, but also I think that, the fans, as far as baseball, aren't maybe as impactful as maybe other sports because you don't really see them. You just really see the ones behind home plate. A lot of times where in football, if you got the wide angle, you see the fans in different things. But for me, it was weird at first. I'm like, there's nobody behind home plate. This looks a little different, but it feels better than spring training because I recognize the backstop at Wrigley, so I know where they're playing. I know it's not somewhere down in Florida or Arizona, so it took me a little bit, a couple innings to get used to that. But once I got used to it and I kind of toned in to just what was going on between the pitcher, catcher, and the hitter there, I kind of did forget about it as well. But you made a great point earlier this morning at breakfast. You said, yeah, but when they hit a home run, it felt a little weird because you didn't have 30 kids chasing after the ball in the stands. That part, it did feel weird. But baseball, to me, I kind of hone in on the matchups already. And so the fans not being right there, right behind the backstop, it didn't really affect me beyond the first or second inning.
You also said something at breakfast. And by the way, thanks to Besh. We blast him all the time about, not keeping a good kitchen over here. Besh treated the breakfast this morning, so thanks for that. You said that you were very big, and a lot of your teammates block out the crowd while you're playing. Yeah. The focused in, the put the, I think you call it the blackout curtains on the side. It's kind of like blinders in a horse race where the crowd thinks that when they get up, it's third down or whatever, and that the players can hear that. You said not really always can you hear that.
And so being an offensive player, obviously when you're playing inside of Tiger Stadium, the crowd's not going to be loud in that moment because they're allowing you to do whatever you need to do as far as audibles or whatever offensively. And so you don't feel the effects maybe like the other opposing offense would. But even on the road, you practice crowd noise so much and you get used to it. It's almost, it just becomes white noise in the background, and you become used to hand signals or maybe reading lips, or you honestly, Hanny, now not everybody does this, you should know the check before the quarterback gives it to you because you should prepare. Okay, well, if the 3 techniques here, we're running zone and we're going to the 3 technique, I know we're switching to this play. Or if we're going off coverage, okay, here's single high safety, I know that we're doing this. Like, you should already know that. Not everybody does. I understand that. But in the pros, they expect you to know that already as well. So there's no, I didn't hear the quarterback. That can never be used in an NFL meeting room. If you came back and said, I didn't hear you, you're going to get blasted. And so you kind of just become used to not allowing it to affect you. Now you kind of feel, I told you this morning, you feel it. You feel the vibrations. You feel, the decimals going up, but you don't hear it. And I know that sounds weird because you have to block it out. You have to be able to communicate. Now, there's going to be a time or two where you get a false start because you didn't hear the cadence. It's the cadence more than anything, but even now going more to silent count. I mean, almost everybody goes silent count on every play. Very rarely do you see anybody with a hard cadence anymore. So it's not as damning as some would make you think.
Would you miss it the most if you were playing a football game in this type of arena with no fans? Would you miss it the most at the very beginning and the very end when you came out, when you did came
very
out
beginning.
of that tunnel and
very
heard
beginning. I don't
and then after the game where you win the game, we've all seen LSU goes over to the band, they play the alma mater. When you are actually focused in on the fans before you're playing and after you're playing, is that where you think you'd miss it the most?
It's for sure for me coming in. Now, coming into it, that's where you got your juices. Pre-game warm-up, you notice the fans 100 times more to me during pregame warm-up, calling Baton Rouge, right? The student section, when they'd first hear you come out, like all of those things, that's what you feel. I'm getting chills even talking about it, and we're, a long time ago. So that to me is when you get the adrenaline going, because once the ball's kicked off, if you're a good football player and you're trained right, you do put those blackout curtains kind of up and you focus on what you've got to do on the football field. After the game, I guess it's different for everybody else. I had to just kind of hit reset after a game and think about everything that just happened. And we didn't do the alma mater, like go to it when I was playing. That wasn't a thing yet. At least I don't remember it being a thing yet. I remember Les trying to teach us the words in the meeting room. So for me, it's the beginning of the game. That's my favorite part of it. It still is to this day. Like the pregame atmosphere that gets the juices flowing. I remember the game, obviously not this year in Tuscaloosa, but the last home game against Alabama. I know we didn't win that game, but the pregame was the best atmosphere I had ever seen in a football stadium. I was ready to go down on kickoff and bust the wedge up, right? And I don't ever have that feeling anymore. So that's something I'll be very curious. How do you get that energy? How do you get everything to what you know it to be as far as, all right, man, I'm ready. The crowd's here. Let's go. That pregame-wise will be way more difficult than in-game and after the game.
And Major League Baseball is not one of these everybody gets all jacked up and hyped up and big introductions and anything like that anyway. So, like I said, not bad. I think we'll notice it a little bit more for the NBA because they do have elaborate introductions at the home arenas, and I don't know how much of that they're planning to simulate or not down in Orlando. And then we'll deal with football when we get there. But I thought it was okay to start. Everybody gets started later this week. The Blue Jays are still looking for a place to play. The Canadian government. I would love to be able to continue with the no COVID theme, but it's just too much news. We did that on Friday, but we're not going to be able to keep that up. The Blue Jays are not going to be able to play at the Rogers Center. They don't like the idea of crossing the border that many times and the spread that could contain. So they had two things on the board early. One, which was in Dunedin, Florida, which is where their spring training takes place. Yep. The other one is in Buffalo, which is where their AAA team is. They don't like either one of those options, really. They have issues with the clubhouse size and being able to social distance properly. They have problems with the facility in Buffalo for other reasons where it's just not quite up to speed. They could go down and play in Florida, but they really don't want to do that. So the latest on the Blue Jays is that they're looking for a major league park, and they don't open at home on Friday. They're at Tampa. They don't have a home game for 9 days. So in the meantime, they're looking for something, and I don't know. I'm just guessing that they might be looking for parks in their area, something that would not be quite as far, but who knows? I saw where one of the commentators in Omaha said, "Come play a TD Ameritrade." Yeah, and we've got room for you. I thought, this is how ingrained I am to the old way. As soon as they said, well, they play in Buffalo or they play in Florida, and I'm thinking, man, that'd be a hot ticket. They'd be, really be able to draw some crowds because they don't play Major League Baseball. No crowds. It's automatic with me. Automatic. I'm thinking, oh, what an opportunity. No crowds.
So I did see the story in Buffalo. It does have some limitations. They said that the lights at the stadium are only good enough for AAA games, not Major League games. I didn't really understand that. How are your lights good enough for AAA baseball, but not Major League baseball?
I wonder if that's television.
Could be.
Because they could, but they usually bring in extra lights. He used to do it at the old box because the old box lighting was.
Can we not put up a pole? Is that
right? I mean,
during the pandemic, I understand things are challenging, but can we not bring in
some supplemental lighting?
Okay, so Buffalo makes more sense to me because you're talking about the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Phillies, the Nationals. I mean, that would be much easier for them than going down to Florida because they're already having to go down to Florida if they play the Marlins there. So it would save you a longer trip. So Buffalo makes the most sense to me. Let's go get some lights. I know they said the clubhouse isn't as big. Sorry, guys. This year, the clubhouse just is not going to be as big. It's going to look a little bit more like Bull Durham this year than it is the Major League dugouts and clubhouses that we're used to.
Dress at the hotel. Yep. I'm almost not joking. Dress at the hotel. You do know that the old box did not have visitors' locker rooms, that everybody that played LSU up until 2009 had to get dressed at the hotel. Yep. And the umpires had a dressing room that was about the size of I would say a storage closet. And so whenever people say, "Oh, I miss the old box," I said, listen, it's got some limitations. I know it's college baseball and not Major League Baseball, but hey, for 60 games or 30 games, you got to dress at the hotel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even have anything.
I'm sorry, but
to say because it is what it is this year. And if it makes your travel easier, and look, the players haven't come out and said that I'm not going to do it because of the size of the clubhouse, but that was one of the limitations that they mentioned as far as Buffalo being a possible landing spot.
Resisting the urge to say new normal here. Not going to do that. Todd Walker with us in hour number 1 today. We're talking baseball with Todd. Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl with us in hour number 2. And Aaron Torres from Fox Sports with us in hour number 3 today. We are brought to you by Richards Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
All right, as you know, Hungry Howie's is home of the original flavored crust. So many different crusts to choose from: butter, cheese, Asiago cheese, ranch, onion, Cajun, sesame, garlic herb. As you can see, they've got plenty of options for you for that flavored crust and multiple ways to get that flavored crust and that pizza to you. You can order at hungryhowies.com. You can always call them at 761-HOWIE. Of course, that Nicholson location is open from 10 a.m. until 4 a.m. Also, the Hungry Howie's app is always available to you. Remember last week I told you about that big deal they had going on? Well, they always have big deals going on over at Hungry Howie's. They got the mix and match deal. Get any 2 items from that menu for just $5.99 each. Choose between pizza, salad, calzone, Howie bread, or a 4-pack of Pepsi. Forget having to decide between flavored crust, pizza, and Howie bread, and forget having to choose between a salad and a Howie cookie. You get the idea. Get whatever you want, and it's extremely easy. Remember that number, 761-HOWIE. Remember the website, hungryhowies.com, and always you can check out the app there for Hungry Howie's.
Off the Bench, Hangin with Hester and Hanny. After further review and more are all live daily on the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge YouTube page. Subscribe now to interact with us inside the live chat. Find highlights for each show's channel and get notified whenever we go live.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, make not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Join us for a Monday edition of Game Time. Charles Hanagriff fills in for Jimmy Ott and joins Ben Mintz as we're live from Rufino's on Highland Road. That's Game Time, Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
We're brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Join us now, former LSU Tiger Todd Walker, as we get ready for baseball here in Just 3 days for real. Todd, good afternoon. How are you?
What's up, guys? Everything's good?
Yeah, everything's great. It's good to be able to watch baseball on TV this weekend and know that it's major league teams in major league parks and we're getting closer. But I have to ask you for your reaction to how you think it was for those guys playing in an empty stadium.
Well, it's definitely different. People will tell you they still have a job to do and they go about their business, but the reality is it's different, and it's hard to get motivated. People talk all the time about drawing, energy from the crowds, and now you don't have it. But in the end, you got to dig down, and the truth is you do have a job to do, and you're still getting paid a lot of money to do it. So the guys got to go out there and perform at their best.
Is it almost the starting pitching, Todd, that you think that might affect the most as far as feeding off the crowd? Because we all know when you got 2 strikes and 2 outs, you're trying to get out of the inning, the crowd gets on the feet, the starting pitcher is going to rear back, give you everything he's got. Is that the position that you can see it may be affecting the most?
Yeah, probably so. And along those lines, that's what you're going to see a big change in, right? So when the season starts, the starters won't go more than 3 or 4 innings. They'll probably have 2 starters in one game, kind of tandem behind each other, 3 and 3, something like that. You're going to see a lot more bullpen usage because the rosters are expanded to 30 players to start the season. And then, of course, it drops as the season goes along to 28 and then down to 26. But you're going to see a lot of different pitchers in these games. And the only saving grace of all that, when you start thinking about the time in the past where a reliever would come in, face one batter, and then get taken out, that he has to face, if they bring a reliever in, they got to face a minimum of 3 batters unless the inning ends. So that's a little saving grace in all this pitching rotation we're going to see.
Todd, how many at-bats would you say it took you to get up to speed going into spring training? You got ready for the season. I was watching some of the quotes that came out for Freddie Freeman the other day because he's coming back from COVID. He said he needed about 30 to 35 at-bats. I know that throughout the course of this season, you're going to have players called up from what essentially is a practice squad without a lot of live at-bats. How many at-bats did you think you needed to get up to full speed?
I don't know if there's a number. It's a great question, but the reality of it is there were some years where I started off hot and didn't need many at all. And then there were other years where I had a hard time. And when you ask the question about the fans in the stands, spring training's always hard because, it doesn't count. And so all you're really trying to do is get your swing grooved. And the last thing I want to do is get hit with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball on my elbow or my head when it doesn't count. So, you just have different things to worry about. Once the season gets going, I was locked in, felt like, even though my numbers, again, some years didn't reflect it, I felt like when the bell rang, I was ready to go, and I think that'll be the case here.
Todd, before you came on, we were talking about the situation with the Toronto Blue Jays. Canada says that they're not going to allow them to go back and forth between the U.S. and Canada border there, so they're going to have to find a new location to play. So I can't imagine what they're even thinking, right? They already knew it was going to be a different-looking season. Now they don't know if they're going to be in Buffalo or somewhere down in Florida. I've got to imagine those players are dealing with a lot as well.
Well, without fans, they can play in a AAA park, they can play in a AA park, they can play probably in their camp down in Florida. Somewhere they're going to stay on the East Coast, though. That's probably a definite. I understand what the country of Canada is saying, but the reality of it is they're going to have a tight grip on this stuff. They're going to be checking temperatures of every player every other day. If you rate above 100 points for, you're out. So I mean, they're gonna keep a close eye on this, obviously, and then of course the natural things where you see all the exhibition games already, where the managers and coaches are wearing masks. People keep their distance in the dugout, no spitting, no real hand clapping or touching or anything that used to go on, and that's going to be tough too because it's second nature. A lot of that stuff that goes on in baseball, and now you're not allowed to do it.
T-Dub, no spitting. I don't know a baseball player that can walk 5 feet without spitting. How in the world is that going to happen?
I still do it. I've been tried for 10 years. So, I mean, I don't know. There is no regulating that, but they're just putting it on people's minds. So if you do think about it, just don't spit. And if you're around Greg Maddux at all, he spit on you. So, I mean, there were times when you'd have to really be careful around Greg Maddux, especially if this was going on.
Todd, as a left-handed hitter, I know you saw a lot of those, what they refer to as loogies, the left-handed one-out guys. So with the 3-batter minimum, have we seen the death of the loogies?
I think 11 that rule. You're talking about the relievers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love that rule because I hated watching a guy, especially a lot of managers may let the guy throw ball one, then pull him out, bring a lefty in to face a left-handed hitter, let him get him out, then come out and pull that guy and get another guy in. Big waste of time. So I like the fact that they have to face a minimum of 3. Of course, if there's 2 outs and he finishes the inning, they can bring somebody else in to start the next inning. But I love that rule because there was too much wasted time in these matchups, which really I think was overrated to begin with.
Seems like we're going to have the fastest baseball season because of what y'all just talked about, having to face, 3 batters. You can no longer come in just for one hitter, one pitch, whatever that situation might be. Also, you're going to have DHs, so maybe you don't have as many double switches. The manager doesn't bring the lineup card out, and we know that in extra innings you're going to start on second base. And so 60 games and all those rule changes, this is going to be a very different-looking baseball season.
Absolutely. There's not going to be any more bunts because now you've taken the pitchers out of the National League and replaced them with DH. But like you just mentioned, in extra innings, you put the guy at second with no outs. Just about everybody is going to be butting that guy over to third with less than 2 outs to try to get him in. So I think that'll be similar in terms of just the small ball game. But you will see a lot. I think the biggest thing you're going to see is the biggest rotation of pitchers. They're not going to let guys go 6, 7, 8 innings anymore until late in the season. So you're going to see a ton of pitchers in every game.
Todd Walker is our guest, former LSU Tiger. We were watching some of the action yesterday, Todd, and it seemed like the ball was flying out of the yard pretty good. I know at the beginning of the season, sometimes the idea is that the pitchers are ahead of the hitters before it warms up. So what do you think it'll be like for those guys starting the season at really the hottest part of the summer temperature-wise?
Yeah, and that's a good thing. April's always tough because, and people don't realize in the big leagues, wherever you go, it doesn't get warm in most places till end of June, July. And so you're dealing with 3 months of cold weather, and that does favor the pitcher. Not to mention, like you said, like however long it takes you to get ready early in the season, it's tough for those reasons. But we're already starting the season in warm weather. I think now it's just a function of the guys getting their bats under the belt. Some of the veterans might get outside because they've been there before. You're going to see a lot of young guys and a lot of guys in the big leagues for the first time, again, because the rosters so they're going to use them as pinch runners, pinch hitters, and they're going to get them involved. And so you're going to see a rotation of a lot of players coming in and out of these games. But overall, I think it's going to be a normal baseball game. I think people are excited about that because it does signal kind of a sense back to normalcy. And I saw the game the other night, big play where they had cardboard boxes in the stands behind home plate. And it didn't look bad, from a watching perspective. It's not too bad. At least you see something instead of dead seats.
Todd, we were talking last week about college football maybe following Major League Baseball more closely than they do the other sports because you're not in one central location, right? You're going to be in your home ballpark. You're going to have to travel. Are you in the same belief that college football is going to learn a lot from Major League Baseball here coming up at the end of the week because they're kind of creating bubbles in different spaces opposed to MLS and the NBA going to Orlando and keeping them like legit bubble where they can't leave?
Well, clearly football is a different sport, right? Because it's impact and it's closer to players. You're right next to a lot of different guys. And again, I think they'll have a grip if they go ahead with the season on testing these guys and making sure they're safe. But it's a different monster football deal. And, keep in mind, baseball are playing 60 games. So they're playing 40 in their own division. And then they're playing 20 interleague play against their counterpart division. So they're staying pretty close to home the whole 60 games. And I think I've heard that, football would just do conference games only. Certain things like that. Travel becomes an issue because you don't want to put everybody in a close-knit space for a long period of time. There's so many factors that they've got to iron out. I think that's why we haven't heard whether or not, a lot of these conferences will play this year.
Todd Walker, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us, and we'll catch up with you down the road.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, Todd.
The biggest thing is when they're outside of the bubble, the NBA players can't leave the bubble. Okay, the hotel rooms are inside the bubble. Right. For these baseball players, they're going home at night. For these football players at the colleges, they got to go to class. They got to go back to their dorm rooms or their apartments or wherever, and they're going to have at least some social interaction on campus somewhere, even if it's even if it's to go to get reference materials or to walk across campus to pick up a vehicle, at some point you get out of the bubble. And I think that's where the trepidation comes in about how often do we need to test them, because they're not like the NBA players inside this confined space at all times.
That's going to be the issue. And really something we talked about is, LSU has the resources to, test them every other day or whatever they might want to do. There's a lot of places that play college football that can barely maybe do it once a week. So that's a bigger question mark, I think, in some other places. It's still a question mark here. And I get everything that you're saying, because you're going to be interacting with people that go all over the place, right? There's people that commute to LSU that live 45 minutes away, an hour away, whatever that might be, right? So you're going to be more, contaminated, I guess is the word you're going to use there. So that's going to be the biggest question. How do you we keep talking about bubbles within the SEC, and they're going to do that as far as the standards of testing. At least we hope. We hope that everybody has a uniform testing policy, but there's going to be a lot more factors to Major League Baseball, to college athletics, because you will interact with other people.
And there's so many more players that you have to deal with. For instance, Zion Williamson has left the bubble for now. He has to test every day negative in order to come back and keep his quarantine time to 4 days. The Pelicans have enough money to send a personal doctor with him to test him every day if they want to. LSU can't do that for 85 kids. I mean, maybe the Atlanta Braves can do that for 60 players. I don't know.
Right.
But I don't think LSU can test all 85 guys every day. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that very many schools are going to be able to do that. So that's why it's a wonderful model to be able to look, but a model is all it's going to be, because when you go from 25 in the game, 60 even on the taxi squad, and now you get to 85 on a campus, I'm going to take a look, but it's going to be a whole different set of challenges.
I wonder what it looks like on the road for Major League Baseball players. I know you mentioned going home. I feel better about them leaving the ballpark and going to their house, right? Because a lot of players, that's what they do. But on the road, you get a little bit more freedom. You go see the sights. Are they going to say, hey, guys, this isn't normal. We're going to stay in our hotel. We're going to have team activities, whatever. Baseball players are different than football players. Football players, when we go on the road, Hanny, we got a curfew. Grown men, we have a curfew. Someone comes and checks our room at night. Baseball,
and you got meetings all day.
We do.
Okay. The baseball players don't have meetings all day.
No, when you land in the NFL, you go get a steak dinner and you come back that night. But starting the next day on Saturday, it's meetings, it's walkthrough, it's film, a little bit of free time, and then at night, meetings, walkthrough, film. So you have all those things, and then it's bed check. Grown man, bed check. Baseball, there ain't no curfew. I mean, you get yourself to the ballpark. You can do whatever you want the night before, show up to the ballpark. It's a different world.
And all day for a night game, because a lot of guys don't get there very early. Take a break here. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Coming up on Tuesday's Off the Bench. With LSU football set to begin practice this Friday, Coach O stops by Off the Bench to let you know what he's looking forward to most. Plus, the latest on Zion's potential return. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Go to 1045ESPN.com now through August 16th and take a quiz, short quiz to see how prepared you are for hurricane season. Everyone who takes the quiz will instantly put their name in a drawing to win a brand new EU 1000 generator from Bozeman Distributors. Get prepared for hurricane season with 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Stay prepared with Bozeman Distributors.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Also at 11:30, the Tiger in Shreveport, CST, and our YouTube channel, 104.5 ESPN. Subscribe today. Some stuff out of the Bayou Ford huddle about testing. One poster says the city's out of quick tests. LSU doesn't have to rely on the city for testing. They've got other resources to do that. The model I saw was that they would test the players on Thursdays and Mondays. Now, whether that goes into law, they're still working on an NCAA policy that hopefully would be a blanket policy. But what we think could be a reality is Thursdays and Mondays. And if I said this when the Big Ten and the Pac-12 went to conference only, it's a lot of this is about testing. Now, I don't disagree with Matt's point that a lot of this is economics, that without fans in the stands, paying the rental win games out, paying those contract games out, didn't enter into their thinking. It did. But I think another reason for this is testing. They have the ability to test more often and more players in the Southeastern Conference, in the ACC and the Big 12 than they do in the Sun Belt and the Southland and all of the conferences that they play against. It's a simple matter of resources. There's been some really good pieces done on what testing costs and how often you can get it and how long it takes to get results back. And if you get to one uniform thing, that's a part of it. So yeah, they could do it. What we heard was two times a week.
Yeah,
we'll see if that holds.
That's just the nature of the beast, them being able to afford it, and some other conferences not. And it is what it is as far as that. And that's why you're seeing the MEAC go ahead and cancel their season in part. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But, you know, when you also talk about bringing these teams in that don't have the same testing model that you have, that is the big worry. That is, okay, we're playing UTSA the first game. Have they been tested like we've been tested? We got tested on Thursday before this game. We got cleared to play in this game. What is your testing protocols? And so that is a big question. And financially, absolutely. I agree with everything you just said about, you know, paying a check to a team to come in. You pay them $1 million with no fans in the stands. That has, you know, something to do with it as well. But that has really been the worry for a long time, right? We know that the SEC teams, yes, even Vanderbilt, are going to have the financial ability to have these tests, to have a twice-a-week style test where you come back from the weekend, you test on a Monday. Hey, we're playing on Saturday, on Thursday, you're getting a test. But that is a big worry as far as how does everybody keep up with the Joneses and have the ability to do that.
Chris asks, did the SWAC cancel the season too fast? Okay, here's the deal on that. The report came out this weekend in a couple of spots that the SWAC was going to cancel fall sports. The MEAC did this last week. The league came out and called that report premature. The fact that they responded to it caught my attention because if it had been true, they would have just kind of let it go to Monday. They are meeting today. I don't want to comment on it anymore until we've got some official word. If they do, obviously we'll talk about it. If they decide that they have come up with another plan, we'll talk about that. So with the conflicting reports, I'm going to hold off on commenting on that for the moment.
You know who I feel like we're not hearing from is the G5s. I don't feel like we're hearing from the Sun Belt, Conference USA. We all know who they are. I don't feel like we have heard really anything from those camps in a very long time. We've heard from the Power Five. We know what they're doing. At least we've heard from a majority of them. Even if we've heard, hey, we're pushing our decision back to the end of the month. We're going to have a meeting then. We'll decide what we're going to do. There hasn't been a lot of information coming from the Sun Belt and some of these other conferences.
I got a theory. A theory is all it is, but I'll share it with you.
That's what we're supposed to do. Share our theories today.
I think that they are waiting for all of the Power Fives to declare. There's a lot of budgetary things that go into these schedules. For instance, how many Sun Belt teams, I don't have it in front of me, but let's just pick a number of how many of those teams are counting on playing a D1 paycheck game, a rent-a-win game.
I'd say all of
them. Probably.
Everyone.
Yeah. So not knowing if they're going to have that, and most of them in the Sun Belt and probably, I'm trying to think, maybe Coosa, have a game that's against the Southeastern Conference or an ACC team. So it would be nice for them to be able to know if those dollars are going to come in or if they're going to have to go to court over that at some later time or, talk to an insurance company about what they can salvage out of that. What did Eddie Bonine say? I know this is high school, but he said we're sort of waiting on the Southeastern Conference. We need them to say something. I think a lot of people are waiting on the Southeastern Conference. I think the ACC is waiting on the Southeastern Conference. I think the Big 12 is in some ways waiting on the Southeastern Conference.
Hanny, I thought everybody would. Then the Big 10 surprised everybody.
The Big 10 has long felt like they are a superior conference to the Southeastern Conference. I mean that. Yeah. Look, that's right out of Jim Delaney's office. Yeah. I know he's retired now, but they like very much to look down their nose at the Southeastern Conference academically, and they like to do it in athletics as well, which a lot of times in basketball they could, but in football, the SEC caught them a long time ago. So that's why it didn't shock me that the Big Ten went ahead and did it. But I think the ACC, if the SEC had followed suit, I think the ACC and the Big 12 would have been right behind them.
Right.
They're following suit there. That's my and I think those G5s, I think they're kind of waiting to see exactly how a lot of these budget things check out.
And they've already had some of their games canceled too. Like,
yes,
look at week 3, for instance, in the Sun Belt. You've already had Arkansas State at Michigan canceled. You've already had App State at Wisconsin canceled. You have a couple more Power 5 games in there. You got NC State at Troy. NC State at Troy. That one surprised me when I read it the first time.
2 for 1, maybe.
Sure. All right, Wolfpack. So interesting
I don't
decision
know.
there. Then you got South Alabama at Florida. So that's just week 3 alone, where you have 4 games that sound like they will be affected, 2 you already know of. And so I think you're exactly right. They're all right. Hey, wait a minute. Wait, Big Ten already canceled their games. That's 2 of our games in week 3. Well, let's wait. Let's wait to see what some of these other conferences do. And you hope they don't wait too long, but I think they have to wait. They have to see what the SEC does when you got a game at Florida, the ACC when you got an NC State game. Like NC State at Troy. Do you know how big for Troy that game was to be able to have the Wolfpack come to them?
Sure.
NC State's not a world beater, but that's an ACC school that finishes about the middle of the pack every single year, and they were coming to Troy, Alabama.
You're lucky to get one of those games every 10 years.
That's devastating for
lucky
them.
to get one of those
right,
games.
because we've seen some teams that will travel. For instance, Louisiana Tech will typically have a game like this every, like you said, 10 years. Well, they've played Miami. They played them in Shreveport. They've had Texas A&M, played them in Shreveport, right? And so they don't even get that game on their campus. They had to go to Shreveport Independent Stadium to have those games. And so it's very difficult if you're Troy to get NC State to come to town. And now, the likelihood of that being played, slim and none.
Anonymous user wants to know what happens if one person on your O-line tests positive. Do you have to quarantine the entire line, the entire offense? We've been asking similar questions about that. What happens if you have an outbreak on your team? How many players until you have to quarantine the entire team? Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 15? I don't know. We never got exact numbers when they had to shut down voluntary workouts, and they had to do that at a lot of places. It wasn't just 1 or 2.
Right.
We never got the exact numbers. I can't answer that question. Obviously, there's a number that is a breaking point. I don't know what that number is.
Football is completely different because you have so many players. When you start talking about, an international soccer team, well, they shut down. Well, they have 3 players, right? Well, that's a different number on their team. Baseball team, we had 6 players. Well, football, what's that number? Is it double digits? Is it 15? Is it 20? Because you're talking about 85 scholarship players. That's not to mention, the 100 players that dress for a home game. So the numbers are going to look, you might hear 12 players and think, oh my gosh, well, 12 in football is about the equivalent of, let's say, 2 NBA players on team.
Right. But the poster makes a point. What if it is 4 offensive linemen out of the 15 you have in the room? Those guys are in close quarters sometimes. I can't answer that right now. Brian wants to know, when do we think they'll make a decision on a fall sports, LSU and the SEC? They've said into July. They've been steadfast on that since almost the beginning of the shutdown. So today's the 20th. I mean, you can look at the calendar. Yeah. The last day of July is a week from Friday. We'll sometime between
if you
now
want
and then
to pump some sunshine into this, you could say they are delaying this decision as long as they can. They did not just piggyback on what the Big Ten did. And, people think the ACC made a decision. Remember, the ACC, it was reports that they thought they would. They did not officially come out. All they did was push everything back till September the 1st, and their first game is September the 2nd. So the ACC has not made an official decision yet. And they're going to push this deal back for as long as they can. I mean, you've got some teams that will start practicing very soon, and they're going to practice. If there's no official word coming out, they're going to practice and just assume that they're going to move forward with the season.
We did this on Thursday before we went to No COVID Friday, which I really miss. The stages at which they'll do that, the smaller conferences, the Ivy League, the Patriot League, the MEAC, possibly the SWAC, they have to cancel all of this. Okay, there's too many unknowns. The budgetary things don't. I mean, the Ivy League could finance it if they wanted to. They don't want to.
Yeah, I was about to say that Harvard.
It's not like Harvard couldn't pay for it, but they don't want to. Athletics is not at the top of the Ivy League's list, and then you get to other conferences that simply are not going to be able to pay for it. The SEC is not in that position. They're not. I would be shocked, Jacob, next week if the SEC came out and said we're canceling. I think that there are stages to it. We went through this last Thursday. The first stage is to either push it back or to go to conference-only games or both. And I could see that happening. And then they just kick the can down the road for another month and hope that things improve.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if they just canceled everything. When they did this in the spring, their big moneymaker was the NCAA basketball tournament. Once they canceled that, then the other things, well, there were a lot of money losers in there.
Mm-hmm.
Big events like the College World Series, but, college baseball is a money loser for most places. This time, they got to cancel money makers. They're just going to
money maker.
The money maker. It's kick the can down the road and try to find some way to make this work. So even if there is a decision next week to not start the season on time, I don't think it'll be a decision to do mass cancellations. Take a break. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens. Make that thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Join us for a Monday edition of Game Time. Charles Hanagriff fills in for Jimmy Ott and joins Ben Mintz as we're live from Ruffino's on Highland Road. That's Game Time, Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Ran a little bit long with some of the questions. We'll take a couple more here real quick. Do we think that the SEC, Big 12, and ACC could fill their non-conference games if the Pac-12 and Big 10 canceled? Technically, yes, but without the uniform testing and the financial incentive, there wouldn't be any real incentive to do that. I mean, it's one of those things.
My hope is they keep the rivalry games that we all know at the end of the year and add a couple.
It's one of the things that looks good on paper, sure.
Looks great on paper.
Somebody else says, can the SEC postpone indefinitely? Yeah, they could. I mean, but there's a point of no return on the fall schedule. I think if they're not on the field by sometime in early October, you got to start talking about spring at that point. Come back on the other side. Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl is with us in hour number 2. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, brought to you by Richards Honda, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, make not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At All Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All Star Toyota today.
Callahan Injury Lawyers. Now, Hangin with Hester and Hanny with Jacob Hester and Charles Hanagriff. Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger. Alongside Jacob Hester, here's Charles Hanagriff.
Hour number 2, Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, 1130 The Tiger in Shreveport. Our friends on CST and our YouTube page, 104.5 ESPN. Charles Hanagriff, Jacob Hester, Paul O'Neill, and Cade Wazan keeping us on schedule and on time. Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl here in about 15 minutes. A barrage of tweets. Well, you got to hate stories that start like this. A barrage of tweets over the weekend.
Friday was such a long time ago.
Yes, it was.
With our positive show.
A barrage of tweets over the weekend from lots of NFL players, including two really prominent members of the New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees and Michael Thomas, about the NFL's plan or lack thereof to start training camp, which for rookies starts this week. In fact, for two teams, starts today. Yeah. Including the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. It's rookies coming in early in the week, quarterbacks later in the week, and everybody's supposed to be there in about a week. I think the 28th is the last day that everybody is scheduled to be in camp, all of the veterans. And lo and behold, the NFL does not have a plan for testing, does not have a plan for protocols. Now, listen, we have on various programs been critical of the NFL commissioner, been critical of the union.
Yeah, everybody.
That's
Let's throw a blanket on it.
That's your department, your union control. But I am absolutely flabbergasted that the NFL
it snuck up on them, Charlie.
with 4 months from the beginning of the pandemic until training camp. At what point do you not get to work on a plan? The NBA put together a manual that I believe was 160 pages long.
Yep.
Major League Baseball fought about this for a month. Now, they were mostly fighting about money, but just for appearance sake, they talked about protocols as well. That's a sport where you're more easily able to social distance than the NFL.
Right.
Yet here we come. The NFLPA has a conference call last week in which the simplest of questions cannot be answered. If you're going and you have to be in a locker room with training camp rosters at 90.
So many people already.
Is it?
Training camp.
What is you played in the NFL? I didn't. What's your first question? You're on a call with the NFLPA. Yeah. You're supposed to report to training camp next week.
Give us the protocols.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Hester?
Give us the protocols. What are the protocols? What are we going to do? What are we walking into? What is testing going to look like? We're going to have our normal 90 people. What are we going to sit like in the meeting room? What's the training table going to be like? We're going to have enough room for all these extra people and to stay safe and use proper social distancing like we're supposed to. Like, give me the answers. I want to know everything because you've had 4 months. And we praised the NFL for staying on schedule, right? The NFL draft, and they tried to do everything, and they were trying to move forward, and you had bickering in baseball. Well, then all of a sudden, here it comes. It's clutch time, and you have no plan in place, right? You've got Sean McVay, the Rams coach, saying, I don't think we're going to start on time. Well, they report today. What do you mean you don't think you're going to start on time? There was, like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is in Kansas City today. Like, that's where he is going to training camp, getting tested, whatever that might be. And they don't have protocols in place. When you look at the Raiders are still not really sure if they're going to have seating capacity at their new Las Vegas stadium. The owner, Mark Davis, said he's not going to attend home games if fans can. I mean, it's all over the place. The Vikings have given a tour of their facility. They didn't really have any protocols from the NFL, so they just kind of did their own deal. They got some duct tape and put it on the seats where you couldn't sit and put X's on it. They went every other locker, and they're saying, hey, I guess this is what we're supposed to do. There's no leadership. There's no voice. The owners, you know, they have one guy they talk to, Roger Goodell, right? And Roger Goodell has the owners' best interest at heart. That's all he cares about. He cares about the owners. The NFLPA is doing God knows what off to the side, right? And so you have no leadership. You have no voice that is the common voice in the middle for everyone. You do not have someone that says, hey, I've listened to the owners. I've listened to the players. Here's what we're going to do moving forward. All you have is, and look, I realize what a union is for. I realize all of that. But you just have one guy who's representing the owners. Then you have the NFLPA, and all they're worried about is having a you-know-what contest.
Their answer to all of your questions that you just fired off in rapid succession there were a collective, let me get back to you on that. The NFL had one thing going for it more than any other sport when it came to this, which was they had the blessing of time. Professional sports, they had the blessing of time. They were the one sport whose season was not interrupted either in the middle or before it started. They had 4 months to come up with a plan. And if they didn't feel like in March or April that they needed a plan, would have been kind of foolish not to get started on it. But let's say they thought, listen, we're going to shut the country down for 2 months. Everything will be fine and we'll start on time. Mm-hmm. If you didn't start to have some kind of nervousness about it when the baseball players didn't get back in time, when the NBA went to the great lengths that they did to find a place where they could play safely, and then even with the bubble, put together a handbook, a protocol manual that would make the Army proud.
Yeah.
And they still do not have the best. If you can't answer how often are we going to be tested, I mean, that's got to be the first question. How often are we going to be tested? Pretty simple, right?
And who else is going to get tested? It's not just the players. I mean, you've got coaches, you've got training staff, equipment staff, weight staff. Even if you're at a bare minimum, it's a lot of people in one building. The NFL's got people everywhere. I mean, they got people in charge of everything, tickets, marketing, anything you can imagine. They've got those people inside the building. During training camp, it is a zoo. There's people everywhere. You've got corporate sponsors coming in. Now, obviously, they're not going to do all that, but you've got people just everywhere because training camp, there's a lot of moving parts to it. Inside the Bayou Ford Huddle, anonymous user, I find it hard to believe they have no plan. I've talked to 10 to 12 current players that say, we have no idea. This is veteran players, names that you would know that have been captains on these teams that say, we have no idea. We don't know what the protocols are moving forward. And not only do they not know, I've talked to scouts, right? Scouts, what do? Well, they scout. They go on the road. They go to different schools. I've asked 12 scouts, 15 scouts, hey, what's the plan? What are you going to do? I said, we hadn't got our assignments yet. I was like, is that typical? Do you normally like show up and get them? They're like, no, now we go to training camp for the first week and scout our own team, but I would already know where my third stop was at this point. They have no idea. So you're talking about players, you're talking about scouts, and I know the coaches, we've heard the coaches. I don't know. They have no idea what's going on right now. So it might be hard to believe, but right now that's the information I'm getting back.
I asked you this question this morning at breakfast. We should have breakfast together more often. We had a long breakfast. The first time you set foot in the Chargers facility after you were drafted, and your answer was?
The next afternoon. So Sunday morning, was there by Monday, 6 o'clock at night.
Okay. The NFL draft was the last week in April. When these rookies walk into these buildings, and everybody's training at home this year. Nobody's going off to train. The Steelers have been training in Latrobe since the 50s. They're not going this year. The players that are walking in today will be walking into those facilities for the first time, which is mind-boggling because in any other year they're doing what you're doing, which
in April.
They're
end of
there
April,
the next
early
day.
May. Phillip Rivers, who signed a $20+ million contract this year to play for the Colts, was on our show on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
What'd he say? I've not set foot in the building yet. I've not set a foot in the building yet. This is your quarterback. This is a guy you spent over $20 million to be your quarterback for this season. He has not stepped foot in the facility yet.
They couldn't even tell these rookies walking in today, oh, stay out of this section of the building. Like, you're familiar with your training your building, okay, the locker room, the meeting room. Listen, we're closing off meeting rooms. I'm making this up, but you tell. We're closing off meeting rooms 2, 4, and 6 and using 1, 3, and 5, and we're closing off the back quadrant of the locker room or whatever we're doing. They don't know where they're going. Yeah. They've never been in these buildings.
Where is that?
Yeah, where is?
Could you point me in the right direction,
Section
please?
602.
It's brutal to be a rookie this year. There's no other. I can't soften that up. I can't pump sunshine into that. It is brutal to be a rookie this year because it takes so long. Even if you're coming from a place like LSU, like Alabama in the SEC or Power 5, a big-time program, it takes getting used to. There are so many different things in the NFL. There are so many little nuances to the NFL game that you think you know in college, and you have zero idea. And that's what you learn in May, June, and early July. And then you give yourself a mental break at the end of July to get ready for the conditioning test and all those things. But when you come back normally, they don't wait on you. There's no, hey, we drafted this guy high. Hey, we got to wait on him. If you don't pick it up, they don't care. That's why Matt Flynn was able to beat out a second-round pick in Brian Braun because, well, Matt got it. Matt did the things he was supposed to do. Matt beat out a second-round pick that they took at quarterback that first year in the first camp because when they came back, Matt was ready. Yeah, is it a pride thing and some GMs are going to hold on to that player a little bit longer? Yeah, but they don't wait on you. And so these coaches that Hanny, they've been doing this. Andy Reid, he's been doing this a long time, right? He's got a protocol in place. And I'm sure they've been doing Zoom meetings and going over playbooks. That's not the same. And so what's it going to look like for him? Because he knows his offense is ready to go. Now you're a new guy coming into this offense. I feel bad for the rookies.
How many preseason games are they going to have? Exactly.
I don't know.
And neither do they.
Exactly. So when somebody says, I find it hard to believe they don't have a plan. Well, I find it hard to believe too, but they don't. We've heard 2. Now it seems like we're not going to have any, and nobody knows. And you've had months, not weeks, not a month, not 2 months. You've had 4 months to put a plan in place. And I realize you were waiting, but you should still have the protocols, right? Hey, if we make a decision on June 1st, here's the plan. Here's our July 1st plan. Here's our July 15th plan. That's what you have to have.
How embarrassing is it going to be and expensive if the NFL finds that they can't start on time because of their lack of preparation? Because testing isn't in place at the beginning, if they have to move everything back in order to put these protocols in place. Take the doggone NBA document and black out the stuff that doesn't, require the bubble and just talk about, if nothing else, testing protocols. Start there. I mean, their lawyers did plenty of the work for you. They've done none of that. And camp starts for rookies in Houston and Kansas City today. And you're right. Sean McVay said he's skeptical that the full camps will open. That's the way I read it, Jake. The full camps with veterans and everybody will open a week from tomorrow. So keep an eye on that. Jim Nagy is with the Senior Bowl. He'll be with us next, hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
GMFS Mortgage, gmfsmortgage.com. Can't say anything more than the rates are as low as they have ever been. So it makes sense for you right now in a lot of different categories. If you had been thinking about buying a new home, well, the rates might make it easier for you to be in a bigger home, in a better location than you had a chance to do before all this started. If instead you want to stay where you are and you're thinking, a little bit of cash freed up right now would really help me out, a refinance will not only help you with the long-term benefits of the lower interest rate, but the possibility of being able to skip a mortgage payment or two and free up some cash in the short term. If you've been looking for a construction loan, the possibility to add on to your own home right now, start with a counselor from gmfsmortgage.com. Answer a few questions, get all your options, and proceed from there to the closing. Let them change your life at gmfsmortgage.com.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
1045 ESPN invites you to take a short quiz for a chance to win a brand new EU1000 generator from our friends at Bozeman Distributors. Simply go to 1045ESPN.com now through August 16th and take the quiz to see how prepared you are for hurricane season. Everyone who takes the quiz is automatically entered to win the generator. Our winner will be chosen on Monday, August 17th. Get prepared for hurricane season from 1045 ESPN and stay prepared with Bozeman Distributors.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers, offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as a bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Coming up on Tuesday's Off the Bench. With LSU football set to begin practice this Friday, Coach O stops by Off the Bench to let you know what he's looking forward to most. Plus, the latest on Zion's potential return. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
We're brought to you by Richards Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Joining us now is the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy. Jim, thanks for spending a few minutes with us today.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me on.
First question I've got is, how has your schedule changed due to, well, everything, I'll just put it that way, and what you would normally be doing at this time of year and how that's been altered?
Well, you know, the unfortunate part of the COVID for us here at the Senior Bowl in Mobile is we've had to really cancel and eliminate a lot of the stuff we like to do in the spring and the summer in our community. You know, whether it's 7-on-7 leagues for our public school kids or, you know, flag leagues, those kind of things. We had our Hall of Fame event. We had a great Hall of Fame class coming in this year with Cam Jordan of the Saints being one of them. We had to cancel that event. So the only silver lining in it has really allowed me to focus on just strictly the game for our 21 Senior Bowl game. So watched a ton of tape. We've got over 500 names on the board right now. And so just we are further ahead right now when it comes to next year's roster than we usually are in the summertime.
Jim, what about the small schools right now? Are they getting the most affected here as far as being scouted? Because we all know that, you know, you can find that gym at a smaller school. You can go to your FCS programs and you can find that guy. But right now with some of the uncertainty and some of the leagues canceling in the FCS, how much does that affect them going forward as far as, you know, playing in the Senior Bowl and getting an invite to the Combine?
Yeah, Jacob, that's a great question. Yeah, they could certainly be affected by it. I mean, you look at leagues like the Ivy and the CAA and the MEAC are pushing the spring ball. And, you know, the thing is here, we've evaluated those guys. There's already 6 or 7 FCS level guys that we'd invite if the game were if we were lining up tomorrow, there's 6 or 7 of these guys we'd invite right now. So, we're kind of in that mode where, do we share that information with these kids? Because I think the key thing for these FCS level prospects is they're going to have to get good information. Okay, so they're going to have to trust the right people. If you're in an LSU and Coach O's got great contacts in the NFL, or Alabama with Coach Saban, I mean, those kind of places, it's much easier for the players to have a feel for what the NFL thinks about them. It's a little more difficult when you get into the lower levels. There's just not the same kind of, foot traffic from the NFL through the schools in the fall and relationships with the coaches. So, if you're an FCS level guy and they're pushing your stuff to the spring, you have to determine, what level of draft prospect are you? Should you play play spring ball and come back in the fall if the NCAA grants you another year of eligibility? Or do you just get into the draft process? Do you come to Mobile or another All-Star game or go to the Combine? But, the key thing is getting that information out, letting these players know, like, yes, you're a legitimate pro prospect, or no, if you decided to punt on the spring ball and go into the draft, you'd probably be an undrafted free agent. So there needs to be really good communication and education here moving through these next few months to help these players make the right choices.
Jim, how would you describe the optimism level of the coaches that you would speak to? And I would ask for you to differentiate between the Power 5 coaches, the G5 coaches, and the FCS coaches.
Yeah, it's really varied, and that's going all the way back to the start of this thing in March. We've went through some doom and gloom times, and then it looked like teams, a lot of places were a lot more optimistic. And then once the schools started bringing players back on campus, and we had the number of COVID cases being disclosed, those numbers were pretty high. Then it was back to having a little more negativity towards it. So it really, depending on who you talk to and what day you talk to them, it's kind of a moving target. But I think there's been some positive stuff the last couple of weeks. Since the Big Ten has said they're going to go to just a conference-only schedule, and the Pac-12 is a little in limbo right now. When you hear stuff like Alabama trying to work out a deal with BYU and things like that, it seems like at least at the Power 5 level, there's some optimism. And I feel like the group of 5 is going to fall in line after that. I feel like I kind of equate it to like the NBA. That NBA domino was the first one to fall in terms of the shutdown. There needs to be a big domino fall, whether that's a program like LSU or that's the SEC conference as a whole. Someone needs to say we're playing football in the fall, and I think there's a lot of things will fall in after that.
Jim, real quick, I want to ask you a question about being a scout, because you're a longtime scout in the NFL. And a couple of scouts that I've talked to, and we just mentioned it last segment, they don't really have their assignments. And normally they said they would have their assignments. They know kind of where they're going. But right now, with everything that's going on, they just know that they're going to be kind of scouting their own team right now during training camp. Is that the norm, to kind of know exactly where you're leaving from after you go watch training camp? Because it seems like they're kind of lost a little bit with no plan.
Yeah, you know where you're going in terms of the big schools. For a typical Southeast area guy, he'll come through Baton Rouge at least 3 times in the fall. But what you don't know is if you're going to go to Louisiana Monroe, or if you're going to hit La Tech. And the problem with that being is, so everything got affected in March and April. This year's draft got affected, but this following year's class got affected because there weren't combine scouts out in the spring getting measurables for next year's players. So they were doing a lot of tape work. But, as you know, I mean, sometimes you watch tape and the difference between being a legitimate pro prospect and just being a really good college player is your height, weight, and speed. And with a lot of these smaller schools, it doesn't really happen as much anymore at some of the bigger programs. Some of the coaches are a little leery of letting scouts measure their guys. But, at most of these small schools, the combine scouts go in the previous spring, and they'll get all that information. So an example of that would be for our game last year, Kyle Duggar, who went in the second round, 36th overall to the Patriots. He was at a small Division II school in North Carolina, but they let the combine scouts measure that kid last year, and he was 6'2", he was 222 pounds, and he ran 4.41. So he goes from being what might have been just a really good college player, Division II guy, but you get those measurables, and now he's a legit pro prospect. And that's what these scouts don't have this year.
Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, is our guest. Jim, I know it's a long way away, but are you already starting to look at contingencies for the protocols that you'll have for the actual game itself?
Yeah, absolutely. That's been on the forefront of my mind for the last few months. We've got a number of them, and I hate to be reactionary in life, period, but it kind of have to be in this circumstance. So there's a lot of different contingencies in place, depending on what this season ends up looking like. Even if we do play football, I do think the scouting process is going to get affected. It sounds like, talking to a lot of the SEC programs, they're not going to let scouts in the building this fall. They're going to be doing Zoom calls with, whether it be the pro liaison or the strength coach or, trainer, whatever anchor source, these scouts go to in the fall. They'll be doing Zoom calls with them. And then it sounds like sidelines are going to be really restricted access in the fall, even if they play. No cheerleaders, no band, no scouts, no recruits. It's just going to basically be players and coaches on the field. So that'll affect, if they scout games in the fall as well. So yeah, the whole process is going to get affected. We're into the point now, if it got to where they canceled football or it was a really abbreviated season, I would be prepared to go to the NFL league office and petition to have an exemption for 1 year and just let all juniors play in all-star games as well. Because I feel like if these guys aren't being scouted properly during the fall and there's not really a season, it would be in the best interest of their 32-member teams to spend as much time with these players as possible. So everything's on the table right now, but we just kind of got to wait and see how this thing plays out.
All right, we've had to talk so much negative here in this interview, like we do most days with the situation going on right now in college football. I want to throw some positive in here because I know a couple of weeks ago on Twitter, you were talking about LSU senior receiver Racey McMath. This is a guy that I'm extremely high on. I think he's going to have a breakout season. When you start talking about the other two guys that are probably going to pick up a lot of double coverage, some bracket coverage, whatever it might be, Racey McMath's going to be that third option that I think could star for this LSU offense. I know you've got your eye on him.
Yeah, he's a guy that we noticed last year. I know you've seen him out of practice and on the game field. He looks like $1 million. Yeah. So when you go to look at, we had Stephon Sullivan in the game last year, and then we were looking at Dylan for the Senior Bowl last year. So when you go out to pregame and you're eyeballing that wide receiver group, I mean it's a stud, one stud after another. And McMath certainly looks the part. We love the fact that he's been a great special teams player for them. We had a guy in the Senior Bowl 2 years ago, Terry McLaurin, who was essentially a really good special teams player at Ohio State. He was like the third or fourth receiver. And you look what he did in the NFL last year. Not to say Racey's going to be the next Terry McLaurin. Terry looks like he's going to be a Pro Bowl level player for a long time. But that says something about receivers and skill players, running backs, receivers. When they're not starters, what did they do in the kicking game? That really gets scouts' attention because it tells you kind of their makeup. They're unselfish, they're tough, they're competitive. And to see what Racey does there, that really stood out. So I'm excited. I think he's got a chance to be a real breakout player in the country. And I did text Joe Burrow when we were looking at him on tape. I'm like, Joe, what can you tell me about this guy? And he loves him. I mean, he couldn't say enough good things. So excited to see Racey.
Jim, I'm curious about your position on transfers. When you put together a watch list and you have to consider the fact that a lot of the graduate transfers are changing location, how do you rate a guy when he's going to be changing situations, either for the good or maybe say, well, maybe that's not as good a spot for him?
Well, it shouldn't affect us too much because you're really just grading the guy's physical talent. It might help him. A grad transfer might help him because he might get in a situation. Let's say like a dependent position like running back. He goes to a school with a better offensive line or receiver with better quarterback play. Those things can help. And, we just had a situation like that last week. One of our top-rated tight ends for the Senior Bowl this year is a kid named Tony Poljan at Central Michigan. He's 6'7", he's 260 pounds, and he's going to vertical jump 37, 38 inches. Well, the Big Ten shuts down non-conference play, and those were Central Michigan's two non-conference games for Tony to really play up and prove himself against big comp. I think they had games against Iowa and Northwestern. So when that came down, Tony transferred to Virginia last week. And those are the kind of scenarios right now that's really interesting. I had a Power 5 recruiting guy reach out to me this morning, and said we've got an open scholarship on defense, and we're looking for this position. And he's like, is there any small school guys you've seen that could come in here and play? And so I think there's a lot of schools doing that right now because I think they're anticipating some of these FCS guys doing that grad transfer for 1 year.
All right, Jim, the last one for me, and you know where I'm going because every time I've ever interviewed you, be it on SiriusXM or here on 104.5 ESPN, I ask you the same question to end the interview. Any fullbacks we're scouting for the Reese's Senior Bowl coming up this year?
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome year. Like, we actually have some legit guys.
Let's go.
We've had two guys. Yes, we've had two guys the last 2 years. Trayvon Wesco from West Virginia went in the 4th round of the Jets 2 years ago. And then this past year, we had Josiah DeGuara from Cincinnati came to our game as a tight end. We played him at fullback all week, and he went in the 3rd round of the Packers. But this year we've got some guys that are legit, true fullbacks. Your guy Carter there at LSU is one of them. There's a kid, Ben Mason, who is just a monster on special teams at Michigan. Just an old school throwback, like hammerhead fullback. There is a defensive end at Washington named Ryan Bowman, who was a second-team All Pac-12 guy, really, really productive defensive player, but he's only listed at 6 feet. Yeah. And when you see him on tape, he looks undersized. He looks like a fullback out there playing defensive line. But I mean, he's the type of guy that's such a good football player that if you had him on your roster at the next level, he could play fullback, he could play D-line, he could play special teams. So he's going to be in the mix. It's a good group. There's a kid Stevenson at Oklahoma, Ramondre Stevenson, who's kind of a big back. He plays some fullback. He's a good one. So we're gonna have options this year, and we haven't had too many options the last couple of years.
Well, that brings a tear to a glass eye. I'm glad to hear that. If you need any help, I am on the committee of the Low-Man Trophy, the nation's most outstanding fullback. There with the Barstool guys. So if you need a couple names, although I know you're on top of it, I can throw you a couple if you need them. So just give the call.
I didn't even know there was such an award. I need to.
It's
To
prestigious.
figure out my way on that selection committee.
Hey, you got to have a little grit. That's all you got to have. And Jim, I know you got it.
All right, guys. Well, yeah, Jacob, I might need your help on that. We'll get you. I want you to check out this Bowman kid at Washington for us because he's a good player. I want to see if you see any fullback in him.
I'm on it.
Jim, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much. We'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, Jim.
Brought to you by Richards Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Check us out on YouTube, 104.5 ESPN. We're on CST, 1130 The Tiger, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny.
Do you know what I love most about Hungry Howie's? They're not like the other pizza companies out there. Hungry Howie's makes their own dough fresh in store every single day. All the pizzas come with that free flavor crust we always say about. You can get to choose from 8 of those flavor crusts. They have so many different options. They're going to have an option that you absolutely love. Remember, you can always order at hungryhowies.com. You can always pick up the phone, give them a call at 761-HOWIE. That Nicholson location, 10 a.m. until 4 a.m. right there in South Baton Rouge by campus. The Hungry Howie's app is always available to you, but I would encourage you, go to hungryhowies.com right now. You're going to find all of the deals that they've got going on. They've got the menu up there. You're going to find something you love there. You're going to find out exactly when your pizza is going to get to you. So hungryhowies.com is a great tool, not only to order your pizza, but also if you're looking for a job, Hungry Howie's is now hiring. You can find information about that job at hungryhowies.com. Hungry Howie's, the place to be.
Sports will be back.
But for now, we're all rooting for a different kind of hero.
Let's embody the best parts of sports.
Teamwork,
sacrifice,
resilience.
One goal, together.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
When you want the best of Louisiana, you don't go to a superstore. We know what we like, and we like it local. Same goes for banking. As one of Louisiana's largest local banks, we offer homegrown services crafted around you. Gulf Coast Bank, the bank that cares about you.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we buy them too. Bring your car in so we can see it, and within minutes you can turn your car into cash or trade it in towards your next vehicle. It's a fast and easy process. We buy your car.
Join us for a Monday edition of Game Time. Charles Hanagriff fills in for Jimmy Ott and joins Ben Mintz as we're live from Ruffino's on Highland Road. That's Game Time, Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Which emotionally lifting story would you like to do next?
Can we just
go back to Friday?
Can we just replay the Honey Badger, Coach Insminger, or Phillip from Friday?
I hate that it's a newsy day because anytime here lately it's been a newsy day. It ain't really what you would call good newsy. Newsy?
Yeah, sure. I'll even take Coach Insminger saying stop abusing our friendship.
Right.
Like that's fine with me.
I'm looking forward to doing shows about sports again. Can't wait. But we got to got to keep up to date with what's going on. I know. All right. So the start of high school sports season in California will now be delayed until either December or January. That's the California Interscholastic Federation announced today. Why do we care? Well, Rajon Davis is the top recruit in the LSU class of 2021, and now his senior year ain't going to start until signing day. And so it says he won't play his senior season before signing date. Now, does that mean, I have to ask the question, does that mean that he's not playing his senior season at all? Or does that mean he's not playing a senior season before signing day?
Right. So I just tried to text and find out if Davis is going to be an early enrollee. They're trying to find that information out right now. And as we've seen it, I guess if you wanted to and if you had the classes, you could obviously try to take some more courses and finish up there because it's become in vogue. That's what in the SEC, almost, I'd say 40% of your class in most places is early enrollee. So that would affect that, obviously. So that would mean he wouldn't even play his senior year, but would he even play anyways, right? Because if you sign with LSU already and you have that secured spot, are you going to chance that and go out there? He might. Look, high school football is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but if he's an early enrollee, he already planned to be on campus in January, then there's no way. He's just going to come straight from California to LSU. LSU, I think, would be okay with that.
We debated how many stars would sit out a spring college season if it came to that. The really, really high draft picks would be a no-brainer. The first-round picks would be a no-brainer. But how many would after that? Now we're talking about it from a high school kid standpoint. Yeah. Would you skip? Oh, wait, you
No, I got an update.
Okay.
I got an update. It looks like they weren't expecting him to be an early enrollee, but with the changes, they don't know if that could change. So it was not the expectation for him to come in January. So that changes a little bit, because if he was, then there's no chance he's playing. But now with this, and we're talking about this because, one, it affects an LSU commitment, but this is right now one of the biggest of LSU's commitments. And, coming from the state of California, obviously it's a little bit different of a recruitment. Anytime it's not a guy that is from Louisiana or maybe a border state, you always follow that recruitment maybe a little bit more to see if it gets to the finish line. And, obviously it feels like he is, but is he going to play his senior year now? That's going to be a big question.
So you're sitting here in what you have planned your entire high school career for. Since you're playing in the lowest level of, pee-wee football or whatever. You wanted to play college football, but you wanted to play that high school season with your friends and all. And so now you're sitting here roughly a week before your camp would start. Really, camp would start maybe 2 weeks. Yeah. And now your choices are these. You can wait until December and play your senior season from December or January through whenever it would land. You can change up your class schedule potentially and graduate and leave early, or you could not change up your class schedule, stay the entire season in school, and not play football. That seems like it'd be the longest shot on the board, but I'm throwing out all questions that high school football players have never had to answer in their lives.
And when you start talking about the situation of not playing with your teammates, that's devastating. Everybody listening to this show right now, I would assume, played some type of high school athletics. I think they were part of a team. Even if you didn't, you did it in middle school. You did it at some point in your life, is my point. You know what those relationships mean. You know how hard it is to get to that finish line. So it's hard to imagine not playing. But also, the smart business decision, if you get hurt in February, Hanny,
yeah,
and we had, Dr. Etheridge from Brock here, although ACL injuries are coming back faster, you're still looking like you're going to miss spring football in the summertime. You might be back in the fall. And we all know that LSU is a school that plays true freshmen. They are not scared to play a true freshman. And so that would affect that season as well. No win. I mean, what?
Here's an excellent question out of the Bayou Ford Huddle. Is he eligible to play high school ball after he signs with LSU? Okay.
Something we don't know.
Well,
baseball.
I would think so.
Yeah, he would be.
Based on you have an early signing period for spring sports.
Yes.
And those kids all sign a national letter of intent and then play their senior seasons after that. So I would think so, but we've never really had that question. Has never been relevant before.
It's a good point, though, because it's done in other sports. The NCAA that does a lot of things wrong, well, they would have to get this one right.
I would think that they would get that one right, but it's unprecedented for obvious reasons. And we're just is this year 4 of the early signing period or year 3? Year 3, one of them.
It'll be year 4.
Year 4. That's what I thought.
It will be year 4 because we did a big signing show for the first 2, and then last year because everything was going on for the national championship, we, put all of our efforts as far as media coverage into the extra games there.
So I can't even wrap my head around a high school kid having to make this kind of call. I mean, I could tell you that I think you could rule out staying the whole year and not playing football, because if you stick around, you want to play football.
Yeah,
I would think. But if you don't, if you're not, and do they even know they're going to play football in December? No. That's what I'd probably have to take into the most serious consideration is. Listen,
this won't be the only state either, Hanny.
No, absolutely not. They're not promising me. They're giving me a potential of a December to February football season, but maybe that doesn't work. And so he's thinking, well, look, if I'm not even guaranteed that I can play high school football, then let me go ahead and take whatever extra courses I need to, and let me get on down the road and play college football next year in the spring.
Now, it is important to point out, we're looking at this from a LSU perspective, right? We're not looking at this from a high school perspective because 99% of these guys will not play college athletics.
This is just Rajon Davis.
Yeah, right. So I'm not sitting here hating on the decision to push it back if that's what you have to do, because you do everything you can to have a season. I feel awful for the people that missed out on their spring sports that got cut short.
Yeah.
I know too many. You know too many. Everybody in this room and everybody listening knows somebody that got something cut short, right? And that's painful, especially when you're talking about the seniors. I feel especially bad for those seniors that will never get that opportunity back. So I'm not hating on the high schools. Do whatever you can to have that season, but it will affect the guys that are signing scholarships, that are committing to schools. That's who it affects. And so that's what we're talking about here. Now, in Louisiana, I don't think we get to that point. That's just my personal opinion, but there's going to be, 15 states, Hanny, you think get to this?
I'm not sure about that, Jake. Ask me in a week, but I'm not positive about that either. Tennessee has already pushed theirs back to the end of August.
Yep.
It just the acclimation period, which for all intents and purposes is telling you can't get onto a field until at least October. And Nookie says Virginia's canceled their fall sports. I didn't know that, but okay. Here's another excellent question out of Bayou Ford Huddle. You guys are doing well today when you're not arguing politics. David says this is assuming National Signing Day does not move, which if enough high school federations have to cancel or move their seasons.
Then you say we're going back to February.
That's
at
least.
This year. Right, I'm saying you get rid of December. You go back to the original signing day, which is already still in place. So there would not be a lot of moving parts. And even if you want to enroll early, which you're going to have, well, they've done that for a number of years before they had the early signing period.
Sure.
You sign different paperwork and you get into place and you start taking classes, and then everything works itself out once February comes. It's a little bit different of a process, but they've been doing that for a long time. When I was at LSU, we had guys that got here early. That's nothing that's brand new, so they can figure that out. That actually would probably be one of the easier things to do.
They've canceled enough of the evaluation periods, the dead period, the contact periods.
It's back to August 31st. Do we think we get an update maybe 2 weeks from now? Do we think that's going anywhere? No, right?
No.
I mean, it's going to stay at August 31st, and so everything's
unless
already
they move
been
it
pushed
back.
Well, it could be pushed back. It's not getting pushed forward.
No. So you would end up with basically you just cancel the early signing period, which that's not the end of the world. Those high school seasons still be going on the first Wednesday in February. If they start in December, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at the very least, a postseason, for sure. State championship game is on Saturday. Don't forget to have your signing party on Wednesday.
It's almost like, when you go from the College World Series and you've already been drafted, right? You're in the College World Series and you get drafted.
I've been there for that. I've seen some of those kids come off the field and be drafted. Have you heard my Robbie Morrison story?
I have not. I'd love to.
The Robbie Morrison story from 2 years after Warren Morris hit the home run off of him. They go out and they're playing. I want to say it was UCLA, but I might have that wrong. Anyway, they lose and Morrison gets hit again and comes into the press conference and finds out he's been drafted by the Kansas City Royals, whose AAA team is in Omaha. And he's had nothing but, this is like a nightmare for the guy. I mean, he handled it well in that press conference. I remember thinking to myself in the press conference, he was down, he had gotten hit, and it's like, guess where you get to play your minor league ball if you make it, through AAA? You got to come through here, and this is probably the last place in the world he ever wants to go.
He's
again.
got PTSD every time he steps in that.
I met him a few years ago when he came in for the Warren Morris deal. It's
a good sport.
No, he's
great
sport.
Guy. I can tell you something, Hanny. I wouldn't do it.
Great guy, great guy. Take a break here. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
All right, as you know, we're brought to you every single day by our title sponsor, Richards Honda. Of course, you can find them online at richardshonda.com where you can do it all. You can check for those specials right there in the bottom left corner. You've got 11 days, 10 hours, 10 minutes left to save in their current offers. In the bottom right corner of the website over at richardshonda.com, you can have a chat with sales. You can always schedule that service, so when you pull into their brand new state-of-the-art service center, you're going to get waited on as soon as you pull up. You can order parts and accessories right there on the website. Of course, you can check that new and pre-owned fleet. But I would encourage you, go check them out at 13413 Millerville Greens Boulevard in Baton Rouge. That's I-12 and Millerville, because when I say new and pre-owned fleet, it is over 700 vehicles. And no matter what you're looking for, no matter where you're at in your life, they've got something for you. If you're looking for a car, you know they've got you covered with the Accord, the Civic, and the Fit. They've got multiple hybrids, not just one. They just added the CRV hybrid, which is that midsize SUV. They've got midsize and full-size SUVs. They've got the Ridgeline truck. They've got the Odyssey minivan. Everything over at Richard's Honda, home of the warm and fuzzy feeling.
Off the Bench, Hangin with Hester and Hanny. After further review and more are all live daily on the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge YouTube page. Subscribe now to interact with us inside the live chat. Find highlights for each show's channel and get notified whenever we go live.
Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property.
Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Reviews are a smart judge of character. If you see this, it's time to move on. But this, now that's a keeper. Richard's Honda is proud of our 97% customer satisfaction rating. Every day, we're stepping up our game to make you feel safe, from masks to social distancing to new ways to shop. Richard's Honda is committed to fanatical customer care. Because when people call you the smart choice, you'd better live up to it. Visit us today, I-12 at Millerville Road and richardshonda.com.
Coming up on Tuesday's Off the Bench. With LSU football set to begin practice this Friday, Coach O stops by Off the Bench to let you know what he's looking forward to most. Plus, the latest on Zion's potential return. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
I'm going to finish this segment on a positive note, damn it. Okay?
I can't wait.
I am.
Let's hear it.
I got to do the other news first, though.
Wait a minute. Did you just okey doke me?
Yeah, a little bit.
Hate to hear it.
Governor of New Jersey is saying no fans for sports in the fall. That's Jets, that's Giants, that's Rutgers. 0 in the stands. Now
Rutgers doesn't really matter.
Right, exactly. But the Jets and the Giants draw, or
they
did. The league, the NFL is letting the teams decide on a case-by-case basis. Do you want fans in your stand? Last week we found out that the Eagles were a no. They shut down Philadelphia. Mark Davis, you brought that up earlier in the show with the Raiders, said, listen, there's a pretty good chance we're not going to have any fans in the seats for the new stadium, and we may not even put the torch up, the Al Davis torch up, which they were going to light. So now add New York, New Jersey, and New Jersey. Add the Jets, Giants, and Rutgers to the list. Here's your good news, though. Brett McMurphy reporting Notre Dame tested 103 football student athletes for COVID with no positive tests.
Let's go.
They've tested 356 student athletes, coaches, and staff, 2 positive tests overall. So some places it's working. A lot of places it's working.
Kentucky, Penn State, and Oklahoma.
Yeah,
those same situation.
Unfortunately, it's not the headline. It's only the headline when
you get clicks.
Something. Well, right. I do like that they've been pressured to put the number of recoveries up on the screen. At least let us know that everybody that gets this thing is not dying. Okay, I understand it's very serious, and a lot of people have lost their life, but a lot of people have recovered too. We could just just a little bit of hope. If that's,
I do think that I know we're coming up against the break. It is important. Those are big, major universities that have figured out, at least to this point, what to do to keep their players safe.
Back on the other side, Aaron Torres in 15 minutes from Fox Sports is Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
And an eye out for danger.
If I built a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
This is a house call. This is a test result. This is a prescription refill. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare. Start your virtual visit today at Auctioner Health.
Citizens Bank is proud to bring you the Fan of the Week. But during these times with no fans, Citizens Bank is switching its support to the Banking on BR campaign to raise money for the Baton Rouge Food Bank. You can help out by visiting brfoodbank.org or bankingonbr.com.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
Here at Corval Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we buy them too. Bring your car in so
Callahan Injury Lawyers. Now, Hangin with Hester and Hanny with Jacob Hester and Charles Hanagriff. Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger. Alongside Jacob Hester, here's Charles Hanagriff.
Hour number 3, Hanging with Hester and Hanny. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, 1130 The Tiger in Shreveport. Our friends on CST and on our YouTube page, 104.5 ESPN. Brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Cade Wazan and Paul O'Neill taking care of us today. Aaron Torres from Fox Sports will be with us here in a little under 15 minutes. Did you catch the I know it's a big night for you though. Big double header for the hopefully double header.
We got playoff time. We got playoff time out in the Coach Pitch Tournament League there in Traction. So let's hope the Bats win the first game, get to the second game. Hey, once you get to the second round, who knows?
That's right. It's one game. Anything.
You got to get to the next round.
I can't make it tonight. I'm hosting Game Time with Jimmy Ott without Jimmy Ott tonight.
Already?
Ah, yeah. Well,
already filling in?
It's because of well, I could lie like he used to do with me and say when I was on vacation, but actually his son is playing baseball, so it's a good reason.
Handy, next week, by the way, my son's playing baseball at 38. I'm going to be out.
Yeah, but not during the day. Not during the day. Did you check out the golf this weekend? So they never play 2 weeks in a row at the same course. It just doesn't happen. But we live in a pandemic right now, and so they did. And at Muirfield Village, that last week had 19 under par win the tournament. This week it's the Memorial, the strongest field in golf in many, many years, with the top players playing there. But by the time we got to Saturday, we saw why they don't play the same place 2 weeks. Right. Now they had done some things as far as the rough cut and the hole locations and a lot of things to make the course tougher. This is Jack Nicklaus's tournament, so it was going to be tougher than last week's tournament. But by the time they got to Saturday and the time they got to Sunday, and those greens had been scorched in the whole locations. John Rahm, who shot 69, 67, 68 through the first 3 rounds and had built himself at one point an 8-stroke lead heading towards the turn on Sunday, ended up shooting 75. He still won by a comfortable 3 strokes, and that's with the penalty he took on his bunker shot that he holed out. I'm sorry, his rough shot that he holed out, because he moved the ball when his club moved the long grass, and when he moved the long grass, the ball moved just slightly. They got him for 2 strokes. He still won by 3, but par was difficult to break yesterday. Only 3 rounds in the 60s. But John Rahm becomes the second Spaniard to ever be the #1 golfer in the world. The late Seve Ballesteros is the first one, and he's also one of only a handful of golfers to ascend to the #1 ranking in the world without ever having won a major. Yeah. But Rahm is now somebody's been on our radar. We talked to him about on the old show. an awful lot about his talent, and he was at his best for 3 days. And you just don't see an 8-stroke lead. I mean, that's rare. That's Tiger Woods at the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach type stuff to get a lead that's approaching double figures. But that's what he had, and he needed a lot of it to skate home. But the Memorial, Jack Nicklaus came out. He was, not as present as he usually is.
Right.
I think he was there, but not, as visible as usual, I guess I should say. Jack and his wife Barbara both tested positive for COVID at the beginning of the pandemic, but have fully recovered. They are both 80 years old. He came out and talked a little bit about that on Sunday. So if you were watching golf over the weekend,
which I was,
yeah, I did. I watched a little bit of it when we got back yesterday.
The course, you could tell by the third round, it just wasn't playing the same. And you've got some guys who finished in the top 10 of this tournament that had awful days, not only in the fourth round, which you just mentioned, but the third round as well. Luke List is a guy that comes to mind. He was in contention. I think he was 6 under at one point. Then going into the third round, he shot 7 over just on that day alone. And there's plenty of stories like that. Fitzpatrick, who finished third in the tournament, he shot a 74. The day before, he shot a 66. And, the next day he figured it out and shot a 68. But the third round, to me, was really the defining point in this tournament. You mentioned Ron there, shoots a 68, but he had created such a lead that it didn't really matter that he shot the 75 there in round number 4. So that course took a beating. I mean, it took a absolute beating, and that's a reason why they don't play back-to-back tournaments on the same course.
Wouldn't do it unless you absolutely had to, and I guess they felt like they absolutely had to. Tony Finau was another one. He finished 2 under for the tournament, shot 78 on Sunday. Those greens were really, really tough. We got some other news out of college football. Some more watch lists are coming out. This would be the week after media days if things were normal, which, you know what?
Watch list season.
Watch list season.
You know what? That's about as positive as news that you'll find out there today.
All right, give it to me. Then we got LSU guys.
All right, we got a couple of LSU flavors here. We've got, first off, the Jim Thorpe Award. You've got Jacoby Stevens and Derek Stingley on that watch list. No surprise there. Derek Stingley, I would assume, is the odds-on favorite to win the Jim Thorpe Award. Jacoby Stevens really starting to get that love that I feel like he deserves. Okay, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire was my guy a year ago, well, my guy this year is going to be Jacoby Stevens. That's going to be the guy that I championed for all season long. You could tell at one point when it clicked for him last year and when he said, you know what, I've got a position, Hanny. I know what position I'm going to play. And I don't fault LSU for trying to find a position for a 5-star talent like he was, but it just didn't click. Once it clicked, you saw why he was a 5-star talent. I can't wait to see what Bo Pelini does with Jacoby Stevens. And, again, Derek Stingley, his play just kind of speaks for itself.
So what are the differences that might impact Jacoby Stevens in a Dave Aranda defense versus a Bo Pelini defense?
I just think you're more aggressive in a Bo Pelini defense. I think you take a little bit more chances in a Bo Pelini defense. You're going to see him coming from different areas of the football field. You're going to see him line up really in different areas. And when you have a guy with this skill set, then you're going to get creative with him. You're not going to be scared to put him in the box. You're not going to be scared to rush him in the middle of your defense. And so I'm excited just because I think you're going to get the most aggressive style of defense you've seen in a long time.
So the safety, I'm going to call it a rotation because you're going to play more than a couple guys. Todd Harris coming back. He was a starter at the beginning of last year, and there was a lot of good things said about what he was doing back there, that he was basically doing
the brains.
Yes, exactly. That he was, I hate to use the word quarterback of the defense.
That's
because
that
quarterback of the secondary anyway, that some of the things that he was doing that would have freed Grant Delpit up to move. So you get him back. And Maurice Hampton Jr., who showed just tremendous potential in limited action last year when he came back from the injury. Safeties you got.
You got them, and you got them in bunches, and you have a variety of different skill sets. That's the most important part. We've just talked about Jacoby Stevens, who is every bit of 225 pounds. We've got Todd Harris, who is 195 pounds. Then you've got Kerry Vincent, who is a track star, right? You've got Mo Hampton, who's a little bit of a bigger safety. Love Mo Hampton's angles. I know that might be boring to the normal listener. When you start talking about X's and O's, he takes the perfect angle to the football almost every time. And I don't know if it's because he's got a baseball background and he's used to track and fly balls. I don't know what it is. But from day one, go watch the end zone copy of the game he started against Arkansas, and his angles are almost perfect every single time. And you don't typically see that from a freshman player, especially in their first start, like he was filling in for Grant Delpit there. So I love the group. I think it's got depth. It's got different styles. It's got different flavors there. That's my favorite part. Jordan Tolles, let's not forget, he's been here too. He was an early enrollee. They raved about him early on in the spring. We could see him make an impact. So between who they have now, who they have coming next year, that's a position which you would expect, right? DBU, you'd expect it to be that, but it's really healthy right now.
You always notice when a safety takes bad angles.
Yes, you do.
It's very easy to tell when they take bad angles.
Yes, you do. There were some bad angles in the Ole Miss game. I think the players and coaches would tell you that, right?
Yeah.
There were some bad angles in that game. Well, they got it fixed at the later part of the season. That's when they started to play that different kind of brand of defense there after that game, where, let's call it like it is, they got embarrassed. They told you that. And for a young player like that, I love the fact that he has that skill set. And more good news. Well,
Please.
This season, it's not negative news like we've been having to spew all day long. Butkus Award watch list. You got Jabril Cox coming in, obviously the grad transfer. Damone Clark also on that list. So LSU's 2 starting linebackers on the Butkus Award list. So that's 4 defensive players. Wouldn't surprise me if one of the 4 won the award. I think it's safe to say. Derek Stingley.
Stingley would be at worst, I think, an even money favorite.
I was about to say, come on, give me some
to win it. I mean, I can't imagine that you would get any better odds than that.
No, you're not.
And this is against the rest of the country. I mean, there's plenty of competition. We get to the lineman part of this. Tyler Shelvin up for the Lombardi, you think?
I think he will be.
Yeah.
So talking to scouts last year, they'd ask the questions and they want to know about Clyde and stuff. But at the end of it, almost every time, I'd say 93% of the time, who's 72? Tell me about 72.
Yeah.
He flashed on tape for them. That's why when it came down to a decision, I was like, if he wanted to come out, he would find a spot. Now, I think he's better coming back to LSU because there's still some things that he has to work on and improve. And I think Coach O is literally the perfect coach for Tyler Shelvin to get everything out of him and to have him in the best possible position in his next step in his career as far as getting to the pros. But he's on their radar, and he's been on their radar for a while.
First-round pick if he has a good year, for sure. Today's show also brought to you in part by Supreme Rice. Perfect compliment to every meal, and I know because when we went down to the camp this weekend, we brought Supreme Rice because after we did steaks the first night, it was time for a big crawfish etouffee with a little catfish put on the top. Supreme Rice, a perfect compliment for that in any meal. All rice is not exactly the same rice. Grown and milled right and processed right here in South Louisiana. Support Louisiana farmers by buying Supreme Rice. For us, it was etouffee, but it might be red beans and rice. Gets a little bit colder. Maybe it's a gumbo. You can get Supreme Rice at all of your Costco's, all of your Walmarts, all of your Matherns at Harvest, and all of your AG food dealers. So making that food dollar go a little bit further with deals from Supreme Rice. For more information and great recipes, go to supremerice.com. More with Hanging with Hester and Hanny. Aaron Torres from Fox Sports when we return. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
All right, we're brought to you by Baton Rouge Foundation Repair. Check out their website, brfoundation.com. There you can really do it all. You can check for their warranties, right? They got different warranties on their slab foundations and their pier and beam foundations. You can check a full list of services. Obviously, you can check out galleries of work they've done in the past. And look, they're not going to try to get you to pay twice. There's some companies out there that will do that. They'll tell you that the poor drainage around your slab is going to cause them to have to come back out. You're not going to get that with Baton Rouge Foundation Repair. Their water shield pilings are engineered to withstand that poor drainage conditions. They've been in the greater Baton Rouge area for over 22 years. I always tell you the owner, Michael LaMonica, who is a lifelong resident of Baton Rouge, the community means so much to him. That's the number one thing I took away from my meeting with him. He is not going to try and trick you to get you to pay twice. Don't be fooled by other companies. Get Baton Rouge Foundation Repairs water chill pilings. You can call them at 225-275-0101 and check them out at brfoundation.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Here at Corval Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we buy them too. Bring your car in so we can see it, and within minutes, you can turn your car into cash or trade it in towards your next vehicle. It's a fast and easy process. We buy your car at Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happy Town, USA.
Prompt, professional, reliable. If you're looking for a breath of fresh air with your AC and heating needs, call the professionals at Anison Bitter. Anison Bitter, a Rheem Pro partner, keeping your family comfortable for over 25 years.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org. Thank you, and God bless.
1045 ESPN invites you to take a short quiz for a chance to win a brand new EU1000 generator from our friends at Bozeman Distributors. Simply go to 1045ESPN.com now through August 16th and take the quiz to see how prepared you are for hurricane season. Everyone who takes the quiz is automatically entered to win the generator. Our winner will be chosen on Monday, August 17th. Get prepared for hurricane season from 1045 ESPN and stay prepared with Bozeman Distributors.
Reviews are a smart judge of character. If you see this, it's time to move on. But this, now that's a keeper. Richards Honda is proud of our 97% customer satisfaction rating. Every day, we're stepping up our game to make you feel safe, from masks to social distancing to new ways to shop. Richards Honda is committed to fanatical customer care. Because when people call you the smart choice, you'd better live up to it. Visit us today, I-12 at Millerville Road and richardshonda.com.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Here at the Big Squeezy, we continue to serve the Baton Rouge and Southeast Louisiana areas during these troubling times. We are dedicated to providing you healthy food items to help you live your best life. From our cold-pressed juices to our delicious smoothies, let the Big Squeezy keep you going. Stay active, stay happy, and let us help you stay healthy. Visit us at our locations and also inside of Alexander's and Methern's grocery stores or online.
Join us for a Monday edition of Game Time. Charles Hanagriff fills in for Jimmy Ott and joins Ben Mintz as we're live from Rufino's on Highland Road. That's Game Time, Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
We're brought to you by Richards Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling.
Glad to welcome back into the show now one of our favorite guests who joins us every single week during college basketball season, Aaron Torres, Fox Sports Radio. Aaron, what's up, brother?
Jacob, great to be with you. As I told you via text, I don't know that I would follow up a big Friday show with Phillip Rivers with Aaron Torres on Monday, but hey, it's your show, man. Glad to be joining you, and I hope you guys are good.
I didn't even let you know that the guest before Phillip Rivers was the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. I just left that out.
Yeah, I actually thought I saw that. I never did the whole thing to actually go back and look at the tweets. I just saw the Phillip Rivers fired up GIF that you posted. I think it was on Thursday or Friday. But, yeah, listen, whatever. The show must go on. No future Hall of Famers on this one. No Heisman finalists on this one. But, hey, like I said, I appreciate you guys calling me.
Well, exactly. That's just what I think of Aaron Torres. So I'm glad to have you back on. Hey, we'll get to college football here at the end of this interview because I know that you cover both hoops and football. But let's start with college basketball because I mentioned we have you on every week during college basketball season. nobody really talking about what that season looks like. We know everything got pushed back. We know that the NBA Combine is going to be different. We know the NBA draft got pushed back, and some of these coaches at the bigger programs, including LSU, they kind of got some guys in limbo as far as are they going to stay in the draft or not stay in the draft. So what's the latest information that you're getting with college basketball?
Yeah, ironically, all the basketball coaches I talk to are really just kind of looking at football right now. And obviously, look, I know this is something that you guys have not only spent today talking about, but the last few months. But, this week is crucial as guys get back on the field in football, with the ability to work with coaches and things like that. And, one thing that I've really stressed over the last couple weeks is that if you actually look at the testing, and we all know what happened at LSU when kids first got back to campus, but the last couple weeks as we've kind of understood the testing and kids understand, hey, I have to be responsible when I leave the facility, the testing has actually gone really well. And so as it pertains to basketball, I think most of my basketball guys are just looking at football saying, can football pull this off? What is it going to look like? In terms of an actual basketball season, I think the thing that is interesting to me is something that I finally heard somebody else say this weekend, and that was Seton Hall's coach. His name is Kevin Willard. What he said is, we have this arbitrary thing of, we have to start on January 1st as if we may have there's definitive proof that things will be better then. And what he said, which is what I've actually been saying, is that if you look at the academic calendar, it actually works out really nicely for us to create a little mini bubble in college basketball. I mean, the season usually starts around the middle of November, and as most people know, most of these schools have moved up their academic calendar to kids basically being off campus starting around Thanksgiving and going, frankly, probably until the end of January. And so Kevin Willard really emphasized, hey, we got to take advantage of those 5-6 weeks. It doesn't make sense to wait until January 1st. Let's get this thing going in November, play as many games as we can, and then see where things go from there. So I think broad, bigger picture, everybody's looking at college football. But I think from the basketball perspective, I actually feel weirdly optimistic that we can get games in because of the way the academic calendar is breaking.
Aaron, the Pac-12 followed the Big Ten when they went to conference-only games, but the SEC pumped the brakes, and the other two Power 5 conferences followed suit there. Do you think that when we get some type of news, be it the end of this week or into next week, that when the SEC makes a decision, the other two Power 5 conferences will be in lockstep with that league?
Yeah, I think it was really interesting because all we heard all offseason was what you just referenced, is that all of the Power 5s were in lockstep. And I think the Big Ten move caught everyone off guard, including Greg Sankey. My hunch is if the SEC goes no conference-only games, in football, I don't see the scenario where the Big 12 and the ACC don't follow suit because, you guys know right there in Baton Rouge. I mean, how is Texas going to replace a opponent the caliber of LSU? How is Oklahoma going to replace Tennessee on their football schedule? And so I do believe that we are going to see these three conferences move in lockstep, but I also give the three conferences credit for not jumping the gun. And I know we all want answers, and I know kids' safety and health is all on the line. But as I said, I think we're going to learn a lot over these next couple weeks as guys get back on the practice field. Eventually, as those offensive linemen start leaning on the defensive linemen and quarterbacks start throwing to wide receivers and things like that. And, oh, by the way, the NFL is going to begin training camp, too, where they're going to have a lot of the same questions and we're going to get a lot of the same answers. So, I know we live in this world where, we're terrified that something awful is going to happen and we have to make these decisions months in advance. I actually give Greg Sankey, he seems to be leading the charge for the other three conferences. I give him a lot of credit for just pumping the brakes and saying, I know it's mid-July. I know we want answers, but we still have more data to gather. Whether it ends in conference-only games, whether it ends in a season starting a little bit later, I just give him credit for kind of having that mindset.
Aaron, something we've talked about over the last couple of weeks was, could the SEC, maybe the ACC get together because they have so many games at the end of the season already put into place. They have actually 8 games if you include Arkansas and Notre Dame. Now, I know Notre Dame is technically not in the ACC, but if you go to a conference-only schedule, they will go to the ACC because they already have that plan in place. And so when you have 8 games already, Is it out of this world to imagine the SEC and the ACC doing something together?
I don't think it is, Jacob, and I think it's for the simple reason that a lot of fans have brought up. I mean, how can you argue that, whatever. I'm just trying to think of a hypothetical. Florida can fly to Missouri, which is, I don't know, I would guess a couple-hour plane ride and play in Missouri or vice versa. Missouri can come to Florida, but Florida, the Gators can't drive up to Tallahassee, or the Seminoles can't drive down to Gainesville. I mean, it doesn't make logical sense. The only thing I would say, and I'm not smart enough to have an answer to this, is that I don't know what it does for the non-Power 5 out-of-conference opponents. And what I've tried to wrap my head around the last couple of days, and I'm trying to lean on some legal guys that I know, is can you get out of an out-of-conference game without paying that massive buyout or the massive paycheck at the very least to a Sun Belt team, to a Mountain West team, to whoever is on LSU's schedule or Florida's schedule or Georgia's schedule, while keeping other out-of-conference games on the schedule? In this case, it would obviously be Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida, Florida State, Clemson, South Carolina, et cetera. So that is the one thing that's kind of a holdup to me, is obviously if you want to keep the marquee out-of-conference games, I don't blame anybody. In a lot of cases, it makes a lot of sense. But I do wonder if that means that you're still on the hook to pay those out-of-conference games to the Group of Five and to the FCS teams. I don't have the answer to that yet, and I'm guessing there's probably some lawyers in the SEC office right now trying to figure out the answer to that, because obviously it could be a good talking point, or a big talking point, as we get closer to the season, if it does look like we have to have a condensed schedule.
I can tell you, ask the judge, because that's where it's going to end up if those contracts come under scrutiny. Aaron, you brought up a good point about the basically vacant campuses after Thanksgiving, and you brought it up from a basketball standpoint. What about from a football standpoint? If we get to the end of next week and the other three Power 5 conferences say, listen, we are prepared to postpone the start of this season until the beginning of October, and we will amend the schedule accordingly, but we're going to try to pick it up on the back end. What do you think about December college football, regular season college football, that is?
Yeah, that's actually been just a thought of mine, and I'm a firm believer, and I don't think I'm like breaking any incredible, ground here. I think these ADs and these conference commissioners are going to do everything that they can to get football in fall, even if it means, canceling out-of-conference games, even if it means pushing back the season. And I'll give credit to my radio partner, Arnie Spanier on Fox Sports Radio. He asked me this question about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I didn't have the answer. He said, we're so focused on, is there going to be a fall season? Is there going to be a spring season? Could there be a hybrid season where we start October 1st or October 10th or whatever and play through the new year? And so to answer your question, I think it's absolutely in play, and I think it could, as you just referenced, become more of a reality for the reason that we've discussed throughout this segment, which is the idea that kids are really going to be off campus, around November. I think the other possibility is you try to start sometime on a normal schedule and kind of build in an extra week or two into the schedule where you understand, hey, God forbid there might be an outbreak, we might have to postpone a game. And then do we play conference championship games a week or two later and try to add, I don't know, it's crazy. And I know the ADs all met last week with Greg Sankey, but my sense was they put just about every variable on the table. And so to me, listen, the thing I'll say, guys, is this, and I've been pretty adamant about this. I think, Jacob, and I would love actually your perspective on this, Jacob. Every parent and player I talk to, maybe not every single one, they want to play, man, because, I think the greatest example of this in recent years came last year at LSU with Joe Burrow, which is if Joe Burrow doesn't play a season last year, obviously in theory he'd be able to come back this year, but like his whole life is completely different. And I think the players want to play some semblance semblance of a season. They want to be safe. We all get that. But I get the sense they want to play. And if that means, hey, we got to start September 15th and go to December 15th, or October 1st to December 15th, I think they're on board if they can get on the field. Am I crazy to say that, Jacob?
No, look, you put so many eggs into the basket of playing college football and trying to get to the next level, and you put so much hard work into it. You're absolutely right. You'll do everything you can because of what it took to get to this point. And I think a lot of guys realize, Aaron, that you only have so many of these moments in your life, and you only have so many opportunities to go out there and play college football. So I don't think they would be opposed to, hey, we're going to delay it till October 15th, but we're going to get our season in, and it's going to finish up, and they give you a target date when it's going to finish up. Now, the spring season, a couple of cases, obviously your guys that know they're going to be first-round picks, that changes maybe a little bit, but for a vast majority of players, you tell them where and when, and they'll be there.
No, 100%. And that's the other thing. I think it gets so lost, right? And, what I love about coming on with you guys and going on in other SEC towns is you guys love college football, and you, Jacob, having played, I never obviously played at that level, but you understand that, there's just this national narrative outside of the college athletics bubble, if you will, that, college athletics is just this awful, evil, money-making machine, and these kids have it so bad and all this stuff. And it's like, one, most kids don't even, they're just focused on football, girls, whatever. Like, they're not even thinking about, the bigger picture of everything. But, the point that you bring up is so important. We spend so much time talking about Trevor Lawrence and Justin. Oh, they don't need college. Well, they could just sit out. Yeah, and there's literally 5 guys like that every single year. Where would I reference Joe Burrow? Where would his life be without college football last year? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, where would his life be? Kyler Murray would be, in spring training right now if the season had been canceled a few weeks ago. And so that is one of the things that, I try to use my voice to say is, I'm not saying that I was ever a Division I athlete. I was never that good. But I talked to enough parents, enough kids, enough coaches to know, this thing really matters to them. And even if it only matters in terms of putting, more film out there to get to the next level to make maybe a life-changing money and change their family's life forever. And so that is a narrative that I think is getting lost in this. And I think we spend so much time talking about, well, we'll just move to the spring and, whatever, Trevor Lawrence will be fine. It's like, yeah, there's not a lot of Trevor Lawrences. There's 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that are really locked in, don't need to play, and everybody else kind of needs to put more film out there. And so it's our argument and a conversation that drives me crazy, and that's one of the reasons I love coming on with you guys, because we can have a real discussion about how things really are inside those locker rooms, those basketball practice facilities, places like that.
That's actually a really great point. Catching up with Aaron Torres, Fox Sports Radio. Hey, I want to ask you a basketball question. We started with basketball. Want to get back to it. LSU just gets a transfer, Brian Penn Johnson from Washington, 7 foot, 245 pounds. I know he was very limited last year. Can you give us any insight? Or we're going to have to wait and see because his minutes were pretty limited at Washington.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. I live on the West Coast, and I'll tell you this, man. There was a couple camps, this was 3 or 4 years ago now, where he played really well. And I don't want to say for sure, but I'm pretty sure Jonathan Givony, the famed ESPN draft analyst, was there and really pointed him out as a guy that could develop down the road into an NBA type talent. And I don't have a great reason why he didn't play there, but he has the talent and he has the skill. And I know Will Wade has said, or he said anyway, that they're going to try to get him eligible next year. But I think independent of that, the best thing that can happen to that kid is practicing every day against the Josh LeBlanc, Sharif O'Neal, guys like that. And I think it's going to make him better. The talent is there. He's really big. He's really long. He's really athletic. I'll be honest, Jacob, I don't have a great answer as to why it never clicked at Washington. I know he's a West Coast kid. Maybe it'll be good for him to get away. But he's certainly talented. He can certainly play. And the one thing I tell people all the time, whatever you think about, some of the headlines with Will Wade, and we've talked about those, for 2 years now, the guy knows talent. The guy is a great talent evaluator. And I'll just be curious to see if he can get the most out of this kid. Because like I said, I remember reading reports and being at the same camps and events on the West Coast where he really made a name for himself maybe as a high school junior about 3 or 4 years ago.
And yeah, LSU definitely looking for somebody with his body type. All right, before we let you go, just like I do every single time that we have you on, give me the latest Gonzaga Bulldogs news.
Well, did you see there was actually real news today?
There was. Not good news for Gonzaga.
I'll tell you this. No, it wasn't. And for the 99.999% of fans in Baton Rouge that are not diehard Gonzaga fans like Jacob, did lose a big man. He's a European kid, and I think he just decided to sign overseas. Just for the perspective of he was a big guy, kind of old school. I don't know that he could have really improved his draft stock, but I'll tell you this, Jacob. They had some kids redshirting this year and injured, and I think they actually aren't going to miss him as much as people might think relative to his statistical success. I'll tell you this. They had a kid named Omar Ballo sitting out last year who's from Africa originally, and, like, my guys that recruited him said, like, this guy's a monster, and he looks like a monster on film, but it's really hard to know the talent competition, all that kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, man, my guys were really fired up, and they told me this before I even knew or before anyone knew that Petrostev was going to leave. So the big one now is Corey Kispert, man. If he comes back, I still think they're top 2, top 3 in the country. But we'll find out here these next couple weeks. I cannot believe, by the way, guys, and this applies to LSU too, that it's July 20th, and we're still trying to figure out what college basketball rosters are going to look like next year. So.
Yep. Actually, there's a lot of limbo when it comes to some of the top prospects that have their name in the draft. Aaron Torres, you always knock it out of the park. We always appreciate it, brother.
No, I appreciate coming out with you guys. It was a lot of fun. Have a good afternoon.
You as well.
Aaron Torres from Fox Sports. We're brought to you by Richards Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. Hanging with Hanny and Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hanging with Hester and Hanny.
I'm going to throw a couple more H's at you, Hanny. Hungry Howie's. Check them out at hungryhowies.com. We always tell you about the pizza deals. Don't forget oven-baked subs. They've got the Howie bread, which is incredible. They've got fresh salads. They've got Howie wings, Howie rolls. Do not forget about the Howie cookie. They brought one in here a couple of weeks ago. It did not last very long before Blaine Bash took a hold of it. You can always find them online at hungryhowies.com. Like I mentioned, right there in the top right corner of the website, it's going to have deals. They've always got something going on over at Hungry Howie's. We love the $5.99 choose 2 deal, which is right there on the homepage of the website. You can pick any 2 from that deal. It's a great lineup there, the mix and match deal, which is our favorite. Always call them at 761-HOWIE. Always hit them up at hungryhowies.com. Do not forget about the Hungry Howie's app. I told you earlier on in the show, hungryhowies.com, because they're hiring as well. Always something going on over at Hungry Howie's.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as a bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
If I built a van, it would do more than haul.
It would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet. and an eye out for danger.
If I build a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
To all of our heroes working on the front lines of this COVID-19 pandemic, your bravery and selflessness represent the very best of us, and we want to say thank you. I'm asking everyone around the state to join me in celebrating the heroism of our healthcare professionals on the 19th of every month at 1900 hours, that's 7 p.m. Write a note of appreciation, make plans to donate to charitable organizations, or say a prayer. To learn more, visit 19thanks.org.
Coming up on Tuesday's Off the Bench. With LSU football set to begin practice this Friday, Coach O stops by Off the Bench to let you know what he's looking forward to most. Plus, the latest on Zion's potential return. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny. Hangin with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling.
Was that a power move by Cade? Because you said Hanny and Hester before.
Listen, I'm still impressed that I'm not, saying the old show.
So I told you.
I haven't slipped yet.
I think that's very impressive because, as I told you, anytime that I do my serious show, I literally write SEC this morning, bigger than Christmas, on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So when I go to break on Sirius XM, I don't say, Hanging with Hester and Hanny when I go to break.
Right.
Or coming back.
When we were doing, we do the Daily Show and then the Wednesday night show, the Tiger Zone show, and then pregame and postgame have different intros and outros, and I did a show for years in Lafayette, and hopefully one day we'll again. You got to write stuff down, keep track, because after a while, muscle memory takes over.
Absolutely, like tonight when you're hosting Jimmy's show, you might say the wrong thing, but it's okay.
I'm gonna put a big old, I got my legal
pad.
Game yes, sure.
Game time with Hanny though, power moving. Since he's not there and he's at the beach, probably.
Can we get that imaging done, Kate?
Yeah.
By 6 o'clock? Okay, you send that off.
A little power move. Game time with Hanny.
I will be filling in for Jimmy tonight with Ben Mintz and the guys over at Ruffino's. So if you want to give us a listen at 6 o'clock tonight. I got to ask you, this is a tremendously predictable move, but we did get a look at the new Alabama locker rooms today.
We did.
Did you see that? They look like something out of a Star Wars movie with the red. It looks like something that in the original trilogy, the Empire would have put out. Darth Vader had his red lightsaber and all that stuff.
Some people have been known to call Coach Saban a character from Star Wars.
They've called him that and a lot worse, for sure. T-Bob, I think, had the little Star Wars motif.
He did.
Yesterday, the Last Jedi was on, so he came in here on a high. But was this like the most predictable thing in the world? LSU got the pods. Alabama's right there.
They were thinking, what can we do that's very, very, very close to a pod, but not a pod? What can we try to do? So they went with the theater kind of reclined seating where you had the button and it kind of folds out. But you can't fully lay down. We all know that. They don't recline all the way back. I'll take the bed.
And if there's any time where you need to talk about being isolated and stay in, try not to use the word quarantine, but that same spot.
We kind of joke about it, but when we had Shelley Mullinex on, a month ago, she said, hey, we're set up much better than we were, say, a year and a half ago when we didn't have our facility, because they have now the dining hall that can feed the entire team and staff. They now have the pods where they can take naps in between meetings and do different things. There's not a lot of back and forth. when I was playing, even with the new building. So when I first got here, obviously the building wasn't even there, but even when we got the new building, we still had to go to the Pentagon to eat. You know, we had to go to different places. We didn't stay at the facility as much as they stay now. Even when I first got here, our weight room was still in the stadium. So we were either walking or taking what we used to call the old prison buses back and forth between the weight room and the locker room. So right now it's ideal in the situation that they have, that if you don't want to leave, well, technically you don't have to. They got a player's lounge. They got all these things for you that, you know, make the most sense just to stay there and hunker down.
We know the protocol that they have had to go through to make that facility adequate and safe, all the way from moving all those weight benches around, all of the testing that has to be done, all of the lockdowns that they have there. Could you imagine the nightmare if this pandemic had hit the year that the coaches were operating out of the south end of the stadium and the players, the weight room was a temporary weight room while they were renovating that, or the locker room was a temporary locker room because they were renovating that? Could you imagine trying to sterilize and test and keep everything contained with that setup? Happened 2 years. 2 years ago, right? I mean, we're not talking about like ancient history.
Oh, there was players.
We're talking about 2018.
Yeah, there was players that, you know, had full seasons at LSU that never been to the locker room at LSU because of the construction over there. So that'd have been a nightmare, Hanny.
No, an absolute nightmare. And they dodged it by a year. It's hard enough to do what they've got to do where they are with their facility finally finished. So thanks for small favors. Anyway, we'll do Ask Us when we come back here. We still have not given any official word from the SWAC. They are meeting today, and there was conflicting reports over the weekend about whether or not the fall season would be canceled. The league came out and denied it, so we haven't gotten official word. That's why we haven't broached the subject yet, but I'm sure that if anything breaks, I know Matt will have it on AFR. So we'll take our final break, come back with Ask Us. This is Hangin with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin with Hester and Hanny.
Gotros Outdoor Power, with all of your property maintenance needs all summer long, whether it be the great mowers from Skag, the Zero Turns, or the Liberties for your residential needs. You know, we're getting a little bit deeper towards hurricane season with generators from Echo that are available right now. Your edgers, your blowers, your trimmers, all your pole saws, and your chainsaws. Gotros Outdoor Power with 60 months interest-free financing available right now. And, of course, when you buy from Gotros, it's going to be free delivery for all of your mowers and that Performance Plus 5-year warranty. Gotros Outdoor Power, 2 locations.
Right there at Airline at Industrial Plex across from Brian Harris BMW. You can always check them out online at GotrosOutdoorPower.com. Gotros Outdoor Power. We make it easy.
We opened up the playbook and expanded our coverage. Listen daily in high definition on 98.1 HD2. We are 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Divorce is hard. Divorce is messy. Divorce is exhausting. The law offices of O.C. Brown walked me through my divorce and helped me find the right solution for me, my kids, my finances, and my property.
Call the law offices of O.C. Brown, your law firm for a lifetime.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is a local bank with a straightforward philosophy.
It's about doing the right thing for our customers.
Participating in our community with annual local fundraisers. Offering individual attention in a modern banking atmosphere with a trusted local company. Gulf Coast Bank invested in technology with a local touch, giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime.
We're building relationships through personal service as the bank that cares about you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Toyota, we don't just sell cars, we buy them too. Bring your car in so we can see it, and within minutes you can turn your car into cash or trade it in towards your next vehicle. It's a fast and easy process. We buy your car at Corval Toyota in Opelousas, Happytown, USA.
Join us for a Monday edition of Game Time. Charles Hanagriff fills in for Jimmy Ott and joins Ben Mintz as we're live from Rufino's on Highland Road. That's Game Time, Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 1130 The Tiger.
Brought to you by Richard's Honda, home of the warm, fuzzy feeling. All right, time for Ask Us. And, of course, you can do this on YouTube as well as in the Bayou Ford Huddle. So the first one, Ask Us, Dickie V took shots at the Saints yesterday. Can we admit that he hates Louisiana? I didn't hear that. Must have missed that.
I didn't see it either, but sure.
He's...
I mean,
at this
not
point,
like he's built up great clout here.
He could come back at this point, I think, and pay off Louisiana's debt service, and I think he'd still have people that were aggravated with him. Ask Us, quick trip to the beach, Orange Beach or Destin?
Destin every time.
If it's a quick trip to the beach, meaning you got to leave on Friday afternoon late and come back Sunday early, Orange Beach is closer. I'm not saying that Destin isn't nicer, but Orange Beach is closer.
I like the clear water. I like the clear water down in Destin.
Okay, that's fair enough. Ask Us, Braves versus Yankees World Series this year.
I believe that's who I predicted when Hunt and I did the show. I took the Yankees over the Braves just because I didn't want to be a complete homer, but yeah, Braves, Yankees, World Series.
Braves are not the favorites in the National League.
They're up there towards the top, though.
They are.
They're in the top
so that's
three
not
as far as odds. Yeah.
That's not a complete chalk eater type. See the Yankees just running balls out of the yard yesterday. Man. They hit some dingers.
I mean, Frazier hit one with a mask on. Didn't even affect him.
Second deck. That was Ask Us, best Saturday morning cartoon of all time.
Oh, what was the one that had? It was Bo Jackson, Michael Jordan, and Wayne Gretzky, right? And it was a Saturday morning cartoon.
After Me.
Oh, it was so good. G.I. Joe's like the GOAT for me.
Oh, hang on, but we got the Challenge of the Super Friends. This is the Super Friends versus the Legion of Doom. That's classic.
I remember that.
And then you had the Laugh Olympics with the Really Rottens.
Masters of the Universe with He-Man.
No, I wasn't. No, didn't like that. Laugh Olympics was funny. Where is the Ask Us? Where's the Hanging with Hester and Hanny Huddle fishing trip? Well, if we got to take the whole huddle, we got to go somewhere where you people are going to behave.
I wish, which I got faith in. I wish there was a central location spot, like a great lake that was in the middle of the city that was easy to get to.
Yeah. I'm off. We'll put research on that.
Okay.
And by research, I mean Cade. Ask
He
Us.
didn't have his headphones on, so he's wondering what we're talking about.
Ask Us. It's National Get Out of the Doghouse Day. So what do you do to get out of the doghouse at home?
Ooh, take the trash out, do the dishes, make dinner, clean up, do all those things.
Yeah, the things that she doesn't want to do. Folding laundry is another good one. And, find out. Well, you shouldn't have to find out if you're living with her, you should know where her favorite place is to go out to eat.
Yes.
The classic stuff still works. Flowers and dinner at your favorite
Let's
restaurant.
just
That
say,
stuff still
guys,
works.
it's not hard. All you got to do is put in a little extra. I'll give you an example. Like last night, my wife said she didn't want a snack, but she said, you know what? I'm making myself one. I'm going to make her a tray of peanut butter crackers and cheese crackers.
Things that she doesn't ask for.
She didn't
That's
ask for it, and
always
she enjoyed
huge.
it. So it's
yes.
it's little things.
Absolutely. Unload the dishwasher is another
that's a big one.
That's big. Ask us, how miserable do you think it would be to be an assistant coach for Nick Saban?
Very to quite very.
Yeah, I had one assistant coach that after he left here said, I just was tired of eating every meal out of a styrofoam dish.
There's that, and God bless Michael Barnett for being his sports information director for as long as he was.
It was right, very, very. Ask us, should Mark Cuban think seriously about shutting his mouth for once? He's in a Twitter war with Ted Cruz over a variety of things, including the national anthem and the NBA's support of the Chinese government, and that's a whole show topic right there. Ask us, can you guys unplug the microphones on the way out? I think that's we don't get into pranks on this show. Okay,
I'm seriously thinking about it right now.
Okay, well, okay,
You've piqued my interest.
I'm not doing that because
when I first got here, it was me and Gordy versus Terrio and Moscona. We had some fun though. We went back and forth.
See, I've been out of studio for a long time, so I've stayed out of the months I had to go in the old studio. We were following T-Bob, and at that point, I just kind of. Ask us, what year did Hanny go 8 for 8 against the spread in the Sweet 16 NCAA tournament? The year Louisville won it, I want to say it was 13, because the kid broke his leg and Louisville ended up winning. And I think I was 7 for 8 in the Sweet 16 round, but I was 8 for 8 before. I was like 15 for 16 for the weekend. Never happened again. That's gonna do it for us. Stay tuned for AF. I want to thank our guests today. Thanks to Paul O'Neill and to Cade Wazan for producing. I will be subbing in tonight on Game Time with Jimmy Ott. You want to check that out. We will be live at Ruffino's. For Jacob Hester, I'm Charles Hanagriff saying thank you and good afternoon. Hanging with Hester and Hanny, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hangin' with Hester and Hanny.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor